And we are live. Hello, people. Welcome to my always on Tuesday live stream. Um, Today we have another great guest lineup, and we are just going to have a conversation on stuff. So I'd like to welcome today Sam Sholly from the None of the Above network. He's a promising and very good journalist. We have Skepos, Jen Sutton, and also we have Lala Dagash. So how are you guys?
Good. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
All
us.
good.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having people that have good conversational skills on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to get other people then?
Oh no. We are fine. We are
Sure.
yeah, of course. Because if when I try to keep my streams with a few people to a certain amount of people, because that way no one will speak over another person, and we can get sort of ideas across.
I love you, Carlos.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I love you as well. So if you guys don't want to start something on, we can talk about what happened since New Year's. That's what 10 days that we've had. Lots of things have happened in on this world. Bad things and good things. Good things. We didn't have an apocalypse yet, so everyone survived 216. Bad things. Terrorism is main topic continues to be, which is bad. But let's go on to more quirky things. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something.
What quirky things are we going to talk about? We can talk about how disgusting the world has become and how it just seems like everybody's insane and we're the only sane people around because reasons.
Of course, I blame. Of course, I want to try to put forward a new term which was not coined by me. I can't remember his name, but I know he's Cognitive Thought's brother. He coined the term, which is to substitute social justice warriors, which is social dominance warriors, because they are no longer looking for justice; they just want dominance. But if we can get that really substituting them, it would be good, because they are those people are basically immune to the social justice warrior tag as it is now. They still think, oh, look, we're justice. We want justice. No, they don't want justice, which is normal for them, but not from us, because
which social justice warriors are you talking about? Are we talking about the Trump supporters or the social justice warriors on the left? I can't tell the difference.
Oh,
anymore.
all of them. Yeah, exactly. All of them. They basically, it's not the horseshoe theory anymore. It's the circle. They've joined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've joined. They've actually joined. They are basically from opposing sides arguing the same thing, and which is frightening.
The extremists on all sides are repeating the same stuff. They seem to be
exactly
holding hands. Yeah.
I have to say, I'm not since we're on the topic of SJWs, I've become increasingly dissatisfied with the quote unquote anti-SJW movement. You know, so much so that I don't really want to consider myself a part of it anymore, even though I previously did. I don't know if anyone's feeling the same way, but you know, much in the same way as people distance themselves from feminism because they don't like what it's become. I feel the same way about anti-SJWism. I'm still against SJWs, but I don't like what the movement has become. And you know, at least on YouTube, where I deem it to be most prevalent, at least. I find it to be honest, like a, you know, very anti-intellectual circle jerk. So yeah, whilst I don't like, I want to be part of a movement, be very much part of a movement that I view to be good, and not be the exception to the rule of a movement which, on the whole, generally speaking, for the most part, I don't think is doing much good. I think there's too much attached to the anti-SJW label that I don't want a part of. So I don't know if I throw that out there.
I think there's too much negative rhetoric.
Go on, Jen.
Too much. Well, there's just a lot of negativity. Like on all
yeah,
sides,
it is.
But...
It is. You do your thought while I get my thoughts in question, because this is quite interesting. That the many anti-SJWs or SDW warriors or whatever that go and combat or try to debunk the SJWs, SDWs. Many times they fall into the same trap that you would find when people, skeptics, debate creationists. They become very insular in their dealings, in the way they interact. They don't allow. Again, they don't like that debate. They don't allow dissent.
You mean different think?
Exactly, different think. I sometimes watch. You can call them Twitter fights between factions of not skeptics, but anti-SJWs, which are ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
And
drama's fun though.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, of course, it's fun for me. I love watching it. It's fun when you sometimes just poke them a bit, and then they sort of go in a different direction, and you poke them in another direction. That's what I've been doing, or sometimes try to do, and it's we people, rational people who, like, I can only talk for myself. I am I am an archaeologist, so I am evidence and data based in most of my assessments. I do have feelings, of course. I'm not a robot, but I use my feelings for my personal opinions. But when I debate someone, I just present facts. I don't give my personal opinions, and as much logic as I can, use my limited logical sense. I'm not a genius. I'll never be a genius because, of course, I'm old enough. I'm too old now to be better. But I always, even though I still strive to be better, I read a lot. And when either camp becomes insular, they are basically morphed into one amorphous mass. I can't see the difference between them.
The one thing I find is, like, how many people are going out there and reaching out to, who they deem to be social justice warriors for a conversation, because, despite what a lot of people may think, a lot of social justice warriors don't want to debate. That is true. But, there are those that do and are open to a conversation. And, I think a lot of anti-SJWs on YouTube in particular, they don't want to, they're not really, going and seeking out people who with really opposing viewpoints to have kind of a back and forth discussion with. Because I think that when I listen to those, I find those very productive when they happen, so long as people engage in a civil way. But I don't see it very often. I wish it would happen more, but I think because it doesn't happen, it goes to what you're saying, Carlos, in that I feel people become more insular and they become more sure of themselves and more convinced of their point of view, not because they've had a moral victory against the other side by really clashing with their ideas, but simply because they've repeated their slogans and their arguments to themselves so many times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but we all know that I personally would love. I always put out. I want to debate people. I try to get people. I want to debate any opposing sides, but I'm either blocked by them, and they dismiss me because I'm a tiny person. Which is, if they do debate me, they will regret it. I honestly think that they will regret it, debating me, because I can be subtle, and so on. Yeah. Well, SJWs really is a boring subject, and I am sorry for bringing it up.
Yeah, it is. It's old.
Yeah, it is. Current news is Obama. I don't know if I should touch Obama's legacy. I don't want to bring up too much. God, what do you guys want to talk about? Please, come on. I got so much.
I want to talk about politics. I don't want to do politics at all because I'm so
politics.
I'm so tired of politics.
Yes, awesome.
So we can talk about anything else besides politics. We could talk about what everyone's planning. You know what I was thinking though? Like speaking, I don't know where this came from. Probably because I'm high. I was thinking about starting a podcast, and I'm going to get more popular than Lalo's, and I'm going to be rich and famous. But I was thinking, for real though, there's not enough channels or podcasts out there that actually do engage with the other side. Like Sam was saying, it's just one-sided, so you create an echo chamber. And the whole idea of labels: you're this, so you think this, and you think this about everyone else because you identify as this label. It's juvenile and it's stupid, and I hate being on Twitter a little bit because I just have to watch this all day long, constantly, and it gets. I don't like people. I really don't.
Yeah, exactly. yes. I've been asking where the extinction level event meteor is. And when is it going to hit Earth? Because seriously, there is just so much badness.
I'm waiting for robots to take over. Robots are going to take over.
Speaking of robots, the Chinese have invented a sex bot.
Oh, I saw that today. I was wondering, isn't it supposed to be like the best sex you've ever had in your life? Now I want to. It's like a chick though, huh? Are there going to be guys? I really want to try it. Like, I wonder if like his sex robot member is going to be like kind of curved to hit the G spot. I'm just I just wonder. It'd be interesting.
But do you know what's more funny? The Twitter exchange that John Yardarola had with Carl Klinsky. Did you guys see that?
No. What did he say?
This is from memory because I will definitely not find it. Carl said, no, yeah, one of them said, looks like judging or something about, paraphrasing, the people who troll me now, if with this invention, will have something to do. And Carl said to Yardarola, yeah, but don't admit it. You'll paraphrasing it. You will also get one. And Yardarola said, yeah, true. Basically, these are paraphrasing. These are not what they said, but the gist of the conversation was that.
Would you buy one, Carlos?
No, I'm happily. I have too much sex at the moment, so no.
Well, yeah, but if you didn't have sex, would you buy one?
Oh yeah, of course I would. Yeah, sure, no problems.
You pig! You sexist pig!
No, it's a robot. It's androgynous. It could be both male and female, so it's not sexism.
Now you're just treating women like objects. Just they're like sex toys. I see how it is. God, man, I swear they're the worst.
Yes, we are the worst. We are the bastards. These men, Jesus. But
where's Lalo?
yeah,
I'm here.
He's probably listening. Ah, cool.
What are you doing? Did you get one, Lalo?
I am Googling Japanese sex robot right now.
no, Chinese. It's the Chinese sex robot.
Oh, that's why it's showing up. All right. Chinese sex robot.
It just.
I don't even have to ask if Lalo would get one. I already know the answer.
Do you guys know Michelle Yuan? Yuan. She's appeared with Michelle Yuan, yeah, Jackie Chan, and so on. She's appeared the Crouching Tiger,
Isn't
Dragon
Michelle
something. Young, yeah, that one.
Mm.
That robot that they showed looked exactly like her when she was younger. I said, "What the fuck?" Because I really enjoy her movies. She's beautiful.
I know the one Carlos is ordering.
She would break me in two. She knows karate and kung fu and martial arts and shit.
Would you would you want a robot that knew like martial arts and could like hurt you?
No.
That puts a little spice in it, no?
No, it'll kill me. I'm a fatalist when it comes to artificial intelligence. So no, human developed artificial intelligence will not lead to good things. We are just so bad. And we've been so well. Bad's not the right word. We are just
human.
It's our nature. Human nature is like that. We've evolved from the savannas of Africa, and then the steppes of Eurasia, surviving all sorts of everything that nature threw at us, and we survived. So we are tough, and it's. If we developed artificial intelligence after us, it will not be a good thing. No. I'm hogging this chat again.
Yeah,
I didn't really
quit. Shush. You just be
guys
quiet.
Talk for a bit.
Let the experts do it.
Yeah, go on. You guys talk.
The podcasters and video makers, because we're the experts.
You are.
So, crickets, huh?
I'm just looking around for these experts and trying to figure
see, the only thing which my expertise is archaeology, so it'll be boring, and I don't want to bore people to tears.
What kind of archaeology?
I love prehistory, basically up until the invention of our agriculture. But I do know that after that as well, because it's basically my favorite period is Neanderthals. I love Neanderthals.
Yep, you were right. So boring.
I absolutely love Neanderthals. And last year we discovered a new hominid, a Homo sapiens denisovian or Homo sapiens altai. We haven't settled. He's so new. We haven't settled on his designation yet.
Is it hard to do something that everyone finds boring?
It is, because I don't know how I can be boring, and I think I am boring. I don't know how other people react to if I talk about human evolution. It can. I think it's the most exciting thing there is. I can see the actual hunter gatherers from even from earlier, from our. Oh God! I'm my brain's going back in time.
So you find it fascinating, and you could see how you could see it as it happens, like in your brain, and other people are just like, "You're so boring, dude.
Yeah.
Really? Ugh."
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't talk. I made a few videos. I've had a few conversations on live streams and that, and I don't know how people react. People say yes. The viewers have said yes. You're awesome. Do more. But I don't. I feel that I'm not contributing enough. That I'm not doing it right. Maybe it's just my insecurity, because I know the stuff. I just don't know how I can transmit it. Unlike you guys, God, I love the way you guys talk and transmit ideas. I'm more. It's more difficult for me.
Are we talking about the same people? Because
Yes, we are. We are, and I'm not putting myself down. I know that in my field, and I can stand with the best if I have to.
I'm not familiar with your channel. What is it about?
My channel is basically this live hangouts, and sometimes I put 3 videos up, which I recorded myself. One was on Neanderthal cannibalism. Another one was explaining race, that it's not right, not real. There's no such thing as human races. And another one had a chat about prehistory with a friend from New Zealand, Gorofsky.
Emma Gorofsky.
Emma Gorofsky. We had a chat. Me, Emma, and her husband or partner. We had a lovely chat, and that's what I do basically. Yeah. I also have another chat which is about me riding my motorbike, but I don't want that promoted. That's just Jesus. I'm not ashamed. I just don't think it's relevant.
So races don't exist?
No, it's not. Races are races. They did exist about 50,000 years ago when Homo sapiens us, Homo sapiens Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens, we'll call them Denisovians for now, lived on Earth. They were the 3 races that existed. That is what a race is. They were.
Yeah, I've heard this a lot about like the different, that there are not really different races among humans. It's a misnomer of sorts. But how exactly then what is the word you use to describe people of different skin color, different characteristics, and people who have shared characteristics? Like, we need a word to kind of distinguish the categories. What word would be right for that?
It's ethnicity.
Doesn't ethnicity also imply certain things like culture and language, though?
No. Biological ethnicity is one thing. Culture, that's a totally different thing. Culture is basically everything that you can transmit to your offspring. That's culture. Now, think of what you can transmit to your offspring. It'll be a big list. It's everything you are, everything about that surrounds you.
Yeah, well, the problem is, I'm not doubting it's true what you're saying, as far as that there is such thing as a biological ethnicity. The problem with saying ethnicity, though, is that in colloquially, commonly in ethnicity means more of a social characteristics, and even like in the dictionary looking at now, it says the fact or state of belonging to a social group that has a common national or cultural tradition, and that's how most people understand it. So it's still going to cause confusion.
Yes, it does, but that's the dictionary definition. Now, race is a social construct. It was about 200 years ago. Race described your basically your neighbors, the area where you came from, your tribe, basically. It was only in the late 18th, early 19th century when race, because of the European expansion into other areas, which they had other, I'll call them ethnic groups, and they met the extremes. So they said, that's when it became a more of a derogatory term to denounce differences between the European expansions and the people they met. That's anthropologists know that have settled that about in the 1980s. It's settled. There's in biology and anthropology, it's settled. There's no controversy.
They need to start telling everyone else it's settled.
Of course it is, but they even ignore. I've seen people, the flat earthers ignore gravity, for example. How can you argue with idiots?
What do you say to people that say Islam is a race or Muslims are a race?
I laugh, point at them, call them names, and laugh back at them again. That's what I do, because Islam is not a race; it's an idea.
I know Muslims are a race. And I'm like, well, you might want to tell the people in Asia and Africa and North America and
And,
South America that they're all the same race if they're Muslim.
Ooh, I got a
Yes,
good question
exactly.
though. This is I'm just gonna bump it up a controversial a little
Okay.
bit.
Go on, man.
Is Jewish a race? Ooh.
Ooh,
Oh.
well,
There's no good
it's
answer here for our friend Carlos.
no, no, it's not a race. It's not a race because you have the Ethiopian Jews, you have the Moroccan Jews, you have the European Jews, for example, which are Europeans. They are the same. They've blonde, red head, blue eyes, and etc. So no, they are not a race.
I think there is an ethnic component to Judaism.
Well,
Well, that's why we
Some-
need the word ethnicity as it's said in the dictionary, which Carlo has an issue with, and that it's a social group with common national cultural traditions, right? In that sense, it's an ethnicity in the dictionary term. But we're talking about if a race, although you know, like you're saying, like there was completely different races before, but in the kind of shared biological characteristics of skin color or facial features, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, but that's because of the long line of ancestry that's not really shared by many other religions. So
I'll give you guys three examples. Do you guys know Yale? She's something. I follow her. She's a red-headed.
Oh, you mean
Jew.
Yael?
Know her?
Yeah,
Right.
Yael.
Exactly. I can't remember her.
I've spoken with her. Yeah, she's very nice.
Yeah. Okay. You know her avatar is her picture. Get said. And what's his name? Shit. God. He's a good argument.
Sammy Davis Jr.
No.
Wasn't he Jewish?
Yeah, but I'm talking about he was in Breitbart as well.
It was what, a Breitbart?
Was with Milo. He left Breitbart. Yes. Oh God. Sometimes I'm bad at
Alan?
names.
You're talking about Alan Bakari?
Shapiro.
Oh, Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. Right. You have Gad Saad, Ben Shapiro, and Yael. Right. They are Jewish. Can you say that they are the same ethnic group, the same ethnicity, each one of them? Can you honestly say they belong to the same ethnic group?
Well, ethnic in the kind of cultural sense, maybe.
No. Ethnic as it should be. Ethnic group. An ethnic group is a group of people. For example, the Celts are an ethnic group because they have certain characteristics which even in northern Portugal, the Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, they share the same type of characteristics. They are light-skinned. They have a high tendency for red head or blonde, certain height, and etc. And that's the biological aspect of an ethnic group. You add culture, then you can add the bagpipes, the cymbals, etc. That's not ethnic group does not depend on the culture that they share. Do you see what I mean?
But
Yeah.
Well, not all Jews. Well, yeah.
Yeah, they all share the Jewish cultural heritage.
They'll have that, yeah. But then, you know, a lot of Jews have shared ancestry, which
of course they do,
which goes back a long time, and
yes,
now, as of now, as a result of that, it has affected biology.
Yeah, but it depends on where they settled. The East European Jews were totally different from the Southern European Jews to the North African Jews to the Middle Eastern Jews. They were totally different, and I won't even bring in Ethiopians Jews, which they had dark skinned. They followed the exact same, basically the same culture with modifications because of the isolations as the other Jewry systems. Example.
I like that you're going to get a lot of hate messages from this, and it's all because of me.
Oh, I don't really that's oh god, I hate messages. I just point, laugh, and ignore them. I don't give a shit about that.
No, you don't understand the internet's serious business.
No, I do understand. That's why I laugh at it.
It's very serious business.
Twitter Twitter cured me of a depression.
What? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. The utter moronity which I see, the stupidity which I see, made me laugh so much it cured me of a depression, an almost depression. I was almost there. It happened 2015, 2016. 2015 November. That's when I joined Twitter, as I am now, and it cured. It sort of stopped me from going totally depressed. I love it. I go to bed every night laughing and happy, and this is from what I see in Twitter. So
you worry me.
I know. I understand it.
A lot of people have the opposite experience.
Right?
Must be my age. I'm almost 50, so
Sure.
I leave there with no faith in humanity. I think everyone's terrible.
You've got free.
Oh, so do I. But I take it as in my stride. So, yeah.
I think Carlos is missing the popularity factor, where Carlos is looking at from the outside, because he has like I just checked, like 1,000 followers on Twitter. Reach like 5,000 to 10,000 and see what happens. See when you get attention and all the people who come to you and start misrepresenting you and hating you for saying anything. It's like, I like hot dogs, and people come to you, fuck you, you fucking racist.
Why do you hate hamburgers?
Why do you hate hamburgers, you goddamn anti-hamburger bigot?
It happens now. I'm only got 1,000-ish followers, and it happens to me now. But I just tell them to go fuck themselves. I absolutely have no patience for people who are intellectually dishonest and basically.
You're all
stupid.
Serious and stuff. Do you know when I first got to know?
Yeah.
But when I first got to know Lalo, I didn't have a lot of followers. I just fuck around on Twitter. It's no big deal. So I start like hanging out with him, and I'm watching what people are doing, and I'm paying attention to what people are doing on Twitter, and I have to white knight because he's my friend, right? Because like I'm biased and stuff. And I start white knighting. I'm like, this is a waste of time. I will white knight for the rest of my life. You go ahead, Lalo. Just take care of it. It's so bad, dude.
Oh, it is.
So
I
bad.
white knight for many people, which I don't really white knight. I step in when I think I'm called for, because I say to them, I see a Twitter spat between people, and I say, he's fine. He's taking care of it. But when I see a stumble, I say, oh, it's my turn. Wait, what about this? Something like that. And if it involves anything biologically, historical, archaeological, languages, I speak. I speak English is my first language, as you can see. I can. It's Australian, but I can also do I can do a reasonable accent of South African when I'm drunk enough. And a friend of mine who's an actual South African said it was not too bad.
I think that's racist. I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea.
Cultural appropriation.
It's an Afrikaner. It's an Afrikaner. So. Yes, it can be an Afrikaner type racist.
I have to ask somebody.
Exactly. I can. I'm fine because I dismiss the term racism wholeheartedly, so they can't actually call me racist. I just say, call me an ethnicist.
Well, since there's no real people, people that have darker skin in this chat, everyone's white, Hispanic, white. Sam, Iranian, right?
Yeah.
Sam is not white.
And white, Portuguese.
Not by a long shot.
So you guys need to probably ask a real person that has dark skin. And see how they feel about
anyone
it.
Want to send the link to say that
Sam, I think I don't know if Jen has not seen you. You want to turn on your camera for a second?
No, I
want to preserve this Sean King in reverse that I've got going on.
Lalo's white Chilean, and you're
Jen
White.
just turned Sam into the next Sean King, I think.
That's right.
In reverse. In reverse.
So you might want to ask somebody that has, you know, some real experience with having darker
Yeah.
skin, not like you guys. I mean, not you guys, someone else, to get opinions.
Oh God, I
'Cause you
can't,
wouldn't
where I live, we are all basically Celts.
Oh, wait,
Celtics.
I have a question. I have a question about Sean King. Okay,
Yes.
you see the pictures of him as a kid,
Yes.
and he's
Yes.
obviously not he's
Not,
white.
not,
I mean,
he has less melanin than snow. Yes, we know.
yes. Okay. So how do you feel about the fact that he claims, like that one chick, Rachel whatever her name was,
Dolenza.
that he
Dolezal.
that he is
Dolezal.
I don't like the person of color thing. It makes me feel, because back when I was a kid, saying it the other way around was really racist, like really terrible. And now you flip it and it's sort of okay, I guess. I don't like it. But anyway, so how do you feel about those people that claim that they're a different ethnicity or whatever than they are?
Say race.
what do
I'm
you-
fine with
what-
race.
what-
I'm,
Go on.
go
Sorry,
on,
sorry.
go on, go on.
Well, what a lot of people do is they,
Go.
when they say can't defend the claim that they're ethnically black, they'll say, "Oh, well, I'm politically black," or whatever that means. You know,
Wait, is that a real thing? Do people say I'm
that's
politically
happened.
black?
Yes.
No.
We had
I've never heard that before.
well, we had the when in the UK we had Malia Buatia, who got elected to be the president of the National Union of Students, and there was a lot of debate, and I was actually involved in a couple of these because I wasn't sure myself about whether she was actually black. Some people were saying she was Algerian, Maghreb, and therefore wasn't technically black. And then I saw the argument being made by a lot of people that, oh no, it's okay, she's politically black. And I was like, well, I don't even know what that means, to be quite frank.
Can I be politically black? Is that a thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it was a very loosely defined term, and to be honest, I didn't really explore it any further than just reading it and laughing at it. But yeah, no, I have heard that argument made, and
That's fascinating.
it's
Dude.
it's an interesting one. But I've heard that used in defense of people like that. I mean, what troubles me about people who, you know, say they're black when they're actually white is just the simple principle of it's dishonest. So I think that's the main reason. I mean, whilst it is funny, I think the main critique of it is the dishonesty behind it. So
The problem is that, for example, basically the United States, and I could even say Brazil, but that's another topic for a future date, have the baggage of slavery. Portugal started it, by the way, the transatlantic slavery. We were buying slaves from the Moors, from black kings in Guinea and so on, to go to work in Brazilian plantations and that. So we started that, and I don't care. It's my heritage. I'm proud of my heritage. They did bad things back then, but it has nothing to do with it now. That's my disclaimer. And if anyone tries to make me guilty about that, I just dismiss them with Hitchens razor.
What about the
No,
idea
not even that.
that you can't walk a
The
mile
idea-
in another person's shoes? What about how, like, I'm white, very, very clearly white. You know, I've lived a white life, except for the times that I was Muslim and in foreign countries being beat up. But so say you can't really walk a mile in someone else's shoes until you have, like, you can't really understand what it's like to be an oppressed minority in the United States unless you're actually an oppressed minority in the United States. What do you think about that? Like, I'm always like, I question it sometimes.
I have a response.
Okay.
Go on.
I don't discount experience. Like I if someone's had an experience, you know, some people are all about, oh well, it's just about the arguments you present, and it is. But the thing is that someone's experience can assist their argument. So if you're having a conversation about, I don't know, what the government's policy should be on rape, right? And you're a rape victim, I think your experience is relevant insofar as it assists your argument. So you say, I'm a rape victim, and based on my experience, I had the following experience, and based on that and the things I experienced, I think this would be helpful. That I think assists your argument. But it's when people use it as an excuse to not make an argument at all and say, well, by virtue of this, I don't have to make, any reasonable points. You just have to accept my point of view by virtue.
I gotcha.
That's when I think it's a problem. But in and of itself, I don't discount it entirely. And I know some people like to go, oh, that's anecdotal, but I don't think it should be dismissed on just because it is a personal experience, which I've seen people do. But don't use it as a substitute for an argument entirely.
I have personal experience of being picked on because I was the only Portuguese in a school where I was growing up in primary school, and I had 2-3 Portuguese in the university. So I was always a minority. I was a minority of 1 to 600 at primary school, 1 to 1100 at secondary school. That was my minority. Can't get any more minor than that, right? How did I cope? I was an Italian, and Greek, which were the two great bigger ethnic divisions, and then there was the Australians, the English, the Anglo-Saxons. That was the third one, and then you had others, Lebanese. Maltese, Yugoslavs, etc. There was a lot of others, and I basically, from about year 8 to year 11, it was every day. Well, not every day, but every week I had 2 or 3 fights per week, and I was bullied, and I was picked on, and I survived. I beat up a hell of a lot of people. I learned to fight. That was my response. And that's my way of getting how I coped with being discriminated against. Because in primary school, I have an experience. I still hate that teacher. I think he died, that cunt. It's anecdotal, by the way. It's my personal experience of what happened. My friend, he was of Italian ethnicity, and he hated me. I don't know why, but he hated me. He would...
I know why. I hate you already.
Exactly. That's probably it. Yeah. I found that he really hated me because there was a sort of a playful thing. This, our kids, 6-7-year-old, 8-year-old kids, being kids. Now you can't do that in Australia. Yeah, you get brainwashed by Safe Schools program. But then it was cool. We sort of jumped on him, and I didn't. I was outside, actually. It was a time which I didn't. I used to do it. I missed that opportunity. And he was a friend of mine. He still is my friend to this day. He pointed me out, and I was taken to that teacher. He gave me the cane. So... And I still
are you saying that bullying was good for you? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying bullying was good for me personally. It made me a balanced person.
All the Trump supporters are just very happy right now.
Because there are people who bullying does bad things, but I had a superb family. My family was superb. Bloody Portuguese, almost Hispanic, Latino type family, extended family. Everyone takes care of your friends. So when I got home, I told my mum, I was playing around, and the football hit me in the face. The Australian rules football hit me in the face when I appeared with a black eye. And she believed me, because can you imagine? That was up to year 11, year 12. All the kids which we would fight, all my enemies. We were friends by year 12, the last year where we went to university. But this is the but why I survived, and there's no lasting thing about bullying or anything. I played the Australian rules football, I played cricket, I played soccer, I played all sports. Inter-school, I was always in the team. And with the guys that would beat me up, and I'd beat them up, and etc. If any other school would touch me, any other school student would touch me, those guys were always on my back, were always defending me.
It's like siblings. You can beat the shit out of your brother or sister, but anyone else comes near them and you mess them up for life.
Exactly.
Same thing.
I'm surprised now. We were all fucking savages at school. We do the most shit thing that you can imagine. But we would never vandalize our school property. Even today, I'm amazed that we didn't break anything. We would pick up litter and put it in the bins. We could be my generation, we were the real eco thingy-mabobs.
Really?
Honestly,
my graduating class was told that we were the worst graduating class in the history of the high school ever. And the high school is like 200 years old. They had never had a more disruptive, worse, just a shittiest graduating class than mine. I was like, right, no, we're number one.
So I would say two things about like the argument from experience thing. Argument from experience is among the list of fallacies, but people on Twitter and Facebook have taken fallacies way too literally. They think, for example, on argument from experience, anybody who talks about their experience to make an argument is automatically making a fallacy, and that's not really how fallacies work.
Or
so if you say, right, so if you make an argument from experience, like for let's say in Chile, there's a problem of underage pregnancies. A huge number of girls get pregnant in teenage years and usually don't get married. I think it's like 70. Was it that high? It was like, yeah, it might be like 3/4 of women in Chile are unmarried, who have children, and that's not due to just them being independent women. It's because they get pregnant at a very young age. So it's not a sign of independence. It's more a sign of lack of education with sexual protection and contraception. So, but I've met girls in Chile that when this topic has been brought up in conversation, they say, "Well, no, I don't really believe that's a real problem in Chile because I don't know any girls, right, who have gotten pregnant at a young age."
Yes.
Now, if somebody says, now, this is my experience, of a teenage pregnancy, or this is my experience of like I have never encountered that. One of them is making a fallacy and the other one isn't. One of them, the one making the fallacy is the one not matching the general problem, which is that there's a huge number of teenage pregnancies, with her own experience, right? So if you say, look, this is my experience and it represents this percentage, then that experience becomes valid, right? But if that other girl who is trying to say, well, no, my experience is this, and from that, and she's trying to make the conclusion that this is the general tendency, that's the fallacy, not her experience. It's that she's associating her experience to the general experience of most people. So it's not that argument from experience is a problem. It's that you don't match your experience to the general problem, right? So
the entirety of your argument, basically.
Right. For example, like Nadia Murad Basi, that Yazidi woman who testified in front of the Human Rights Council of the UN about human trafficking of ISIS and being a rape victim, etc. Like we know that's a big problem of ISIS, and they've been doing this to Yazidi woman. Now nobody's going to tell her, well, that's just argument from experience. Just because you that happened to you, that doesn't mean it's a larger problem. No, her experience is very valid. Why? Because matched with her experience, we have data that this has happened in mass, right? So her experience is not a fallacy because it's matched with more data. And the second thing I would add to the whole argument from experience thing, the person who, how did you say, Jen, that if you, about walking in another person's shoes?
Yeah, walk a mile in my shoes. You know, you won't understand until you walk a mile in my shoes.
Right. So if that's true, that if you, unless you walk a mile in my shoes, then you don't understand my experience. There's nothing you can say about it. That has to go both ways, right? And what I'm seeing a lot from people right now is that they're saying, well, white people can't talk about the experience of black men, or men can't talk about the experience of women. That's fine if you put that as a premise, but you have to then return it the same logic, right? You have to say, okay, a white person doesn't understand the experience of a black person, but equally a black person doesn't understand the experience of a white person. And for example, Jaden Smith, right, who has grown up with every privilege a person can have, the son of Will Smith, cannot say like, well, poor white people don't understand the experience of being a black man in America. Right. Well, exactly. Okay, but that's true enough. But you don't understand the experience of being a poor white person in America.
But that's right? A lot of people won't apply that both ways. So and that's why sometimes I know people who who actually take issue with the phrase identity politics in this respect, because ultimately it's just politics. Because identity only matters, so you're only going to play the identity game insofar as it suits your agenda, right? So ultimately it is just politics. It's not identity politics. So, you know, you had this with Owen Jones, who was a left-wing commentator in the UK in the aftermath of the Orlando shooting. Obviously was a homophobic crime. He said, well, he went on Sky, and there's a quite famous clip, said, in his outburst said, oh, well, where are the gay voices? Why aren't gay people other gay people being allowed to come and talk here? The very next day, he gets invited on Channel 4, and they say, Owen, okay, would you like to debate Douglas Murray on the shooting? And Douglas Murray is completely politically opposed to Owen Jones on the issue of Islam, and of course is gay. So here you have Owen Jones, who yesterday says, oh well, we should have more gay voices talking about this. And then, do you know what he did when asked that, whether he wanted to debate Douglas Murray? He said, no, I don't want to come on with Douglas Murray. So, you know, obviously because he's the wrong type of gay. Yeah.
So what he meant was more like he wanted gay voices who agreed with him.
Gay voices who agreed with him. And I've personally, I'm going to argue from experience here. I've personally had this where, you know, I went on a feminist chat room once, you know, and because my friends were like, you have to join this argument, because it was like some massive thread, and I thought to throw my hat in the ring. And basically they were saying that, you know, white people don't get to define what racism is. Racism is defined by, you know, to use that awful phrase, people of color. And so basically then I come in as a person of color, quote unquote, and say, well, I personally don't think that I think white people can be racist. I think people of color, quote unquote, can be racist to white people, and I don't think and I think it works both ways. And then suddenly all these white feminists start telling me, no, you're wrong. Actually, you know, whoa. What happened to you know, people of color getting to set the terms? You know, I thought that was what we established before.
Weren't they were basically white-splaining to you? No?
They basically, yeah. And by the way, I don't mind that. And I'm glad they did, because but I'm just pointing out to their hypocrisy on that issue, because they're the ones who said that, you know, I people like me get to set the terms. And also you run into the issue of, you know, when you do that, of well, what if two people of color conflict on this issue? whose set of terms are you going to agree to? So, yeah, it was. I've had that a few times. I've seen that a few times in political discourse.
I have still seen that no one address ever the problem of when people of color are racist amongst each other. Is it racist or not? I've never seen somebody say, whether it's true or false.
Oh, that
whether
is a good question, Lalo. I never thought about that.
There's an example about
It's
that.
never. What an example of that? There's a great example of that with
the proof that racism between people of color or Africans exists.
Well, there's a major example of
genocide.
Well, but that's outside the realm of people they care about, right? They only care about people in the West. So in the West, like a good example would be the LA riots. Most of the businesses that were burnt down in the riots by Black people were owned by Koreans, and since then, years later, animosity between the two groups in Los Angeles has persisted, and
it's still very bad.
Yeah, well, Jen is in LA. She knows this well. But so what that discrimination there, that hatred, is it racism or not?
Oh, that makes my brain hurt.
It is. It's racism. From the term racist, how racism, the dictionary definition, discrimination.
No. You think it's racism, and we'll all in this panel, agree it's racism. But applying the logic of social justice to the situation, would they consider it racism? That's the question. Does it fall under their definition of it?
That's a good question. I can't.
Right?
I can imagine a lot of things, but I can't get into their heads.
So, for example, they have redefined racism as being power plus privilege, right?
They try to, yeah.
Sorry. Was it power plus prejudice? Is that it? Power
prejudice.
Plus
prejudice.
Yeah. Okay. So, in that case, it would be defined as whichever subgroup of like minority, like let's say if Koreans have more power in general, if you could measure that above Black people, then in that case now they are the racist ones, right? So if for Black people could be racist against subgroups that are less powerful than them, right? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes, absolutely.
I actually asked DeRay McKesson that very question. And then he basically sidestepped and said, "Well, no, that's not how we think about it. He basically said that me and him were others, against whiteness, which was the power structure to him. So he wouldn't answer it. He just kind of groups people of color together. But it's interesting. You have to, you can delve deeper, and I think that's definitely a valid question. How far does that logic go?
Those groups would be so offended if you were lumping them in together. Like, they hate each other so much. Even in LA here, Blacks and Hispanics hate each other. The Koreans and Blacks hate each other. The Japanese and the Koreans hate each other for whatever reason. I don't know.
Historical reasons. Call World War II.
I can't decide what. I can't.
A Buddhist monk burnt himself because of some sort of agreement Korea and Japan reached over the quote unquote comfort women.
Oh, that's right. See, I'm so uneducated. Look at that.
I have so much trivia in my head. You don't know how it is.
It's just a lot of groups hating each other for whatever, for old reasons, and there's a lot of animosity still. And to pretend like it's just white versus dark is well, anyway, it's just stupid.
About the power plus prejudice equals racism. Of course, the social justice warriors would consider the Koreans, because they are successful,
better educated, maybe, or no?
Educated, successful, educated, higher earnings, etc. They would say, nope, the Blacks are the ones that are not racist. The Koreans are the racist ones, even though the Koreans are
insulting to people. Like, that's telling the Blacks that they can't achieve. Like, that makes me so angry.
Well, what they're saying, that's what they're saying to, again, to use that phrase, people of color, is you can't do something because of your race. That is in effect what it is. yes, to be racist is a horrible thing, but they're saying you can't be racist. You can't do something because of your skin color, which is, rather racist. So,
It's
Yeah.
So,
it's condescending,
Yeah.
patronizing, racist. There's all those labels. When you say to a group of people, "Oh, you are so oppressed. You're treating them like a 4-year-old," and that's
Okay.
that.
Okay.
that-
So
that
so so
really-
so
it's the bigotry of soft bigotry of low expectation, which I believe actually was a phrase coined by George W. Bush. Believe it or not.
it is true though.
Yeah.
Okay, but wait, on the other side, because like I was gonna make a video about this, and I thought it was gonna be kind of, I don't know if it'd be controversial or not, but it's something that I don't know. I finally realized it, or I've known it my whole life, but I haven't really said any. I don't know, but there is white privilege. People want to say there is no white privilege, and there absolutely is. Like I don't get and I also have female privilege, but I don't get second glances in stores. I don't get followed. I don't get my things counted as much. The police don't give me a second look, whereas the my Mexican friend gets constant harassment by the police. I could be smoking a joint in front of the cop, and it's not legal to do it on the streets, even though it's kind of legal here, and they wouldn't care. I could blow up my kid's face, and they wouldn't care. But if I was darker skinned, they would really care. So there is. I keep telling myself like I understand, I know I'm right, but at the same time, I don't want to discount. I'm in a weird place. I don't want to discount other people's what they say and say that I know better, because I hate it when it's done to me. When people do that to me about Islam or my experiences, they don't have any idea what it's like, and so they're telling me that I'm not valid and my experiences aren't valid. It makes me feel like a piece. I don't like it. It makes me angry.
Well,
and like,
this is where the Trump justice warriors come in as a counterbalance to the social justice warriors. As Carlos was saying, it's the two extremes. Because yeah, a lot of people we can talk all day about how horrible the social justice warriors are, but the reasonable answer to them is that when they call all white people are racist and no people of color can ever be racist, is that no, everybody could be racist, right? And you can't, if you call everything racist, then nothing is racist, right? If everyone is racist, then no one is racist. But then the alt-right and the Trump justice warriors and the people of the far right, they want to counter that as saying, no, racism is just not even existent anymore, right? Or they make racist comments themselves. So it's good to remember that, well, yeah, you guys are exaggerating in the social justice arena, but doesn't mean that the racists aren't around. They're still there,
right?
And they're all over Twitter.
But exactly
on everywhere, on every side.
But they're screaming the loudest, I find, and I do feel that people who are caught in the middle of that feel like their voices are getting drowned out. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say that in recent times. That they feel that the two opposite ends of the spectrum, as you put it, are getting the most traction at the moment. So how do we solve that? How do we get past that? Because it's I think it's very hard to put a kind of well, no, I guess it's not. But I think then, whilst the message is a moderate one that I suppose all of us would agree to, how do we put it forward in a strong and convincing way to convince these people who are themselves very convinced of their own ideologies?
I think the people we're talking about, the two extremes, are not that many people. If we're talking about, like, let's say the United States, the social justice warriors and the people of the far left who are just insanely so left that they just despise white people, that's not that many people. And the far right of people who are white and religious and just despise all minorities, Muslims and Latinos, that's not that many people anymore in the United States. The United States, for the most part, when you take like surveys in general about it being liberal in its ideas, are for the most part leaning the right way, the majority. The problem is the internet. The problem is that the most extreme voices are getting all the attention online. Why? Because they are the people who get the best clicks. you know, like even the Independent today, the British website that's pretty good in general, published an article today that was it seemed like it was from The Onion. It said that the Ryan Gosling and his, you know, when he gave some speech about appreciating his wife Eva Mendes and how wonderful she is, that she's taking care of children and her brother got cancer and she did all this while I was making a movie. She's the most wonderful mother, blah blah. And somebody called her. Somebody published the story saying he was sexist for it, right? And yeah, of course. And I think the majority of people who read that are going to realize it's unreasonable, right? And it's ridiculous. However, it feeds the outrage machine. That story is going to get more clicks than a reasonable story, right? So I think the problem is that too much attention is given to trolls and the extremes because it's just interesting, right? And even we fall into that. Like I'll post those stories above, you know, somebody who's reasonable, right? I'll post a story from, like, you know, a crazy Trump supporter or a social justice warrior over, you know, most of the time somebody who's more reasonable.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if I'm doing a good thing by doing that, because it's giving clicks to these people, right? And a lot of them are doing it for the clicks. You have to even wonder, like, how many of these people actually believe in this stuff, or it's just, you know, good financial, viable financially for clickbait. I don't know.
Well, I've questioned it sometimes. So take the Chicago kidnapping that happened, which was inappropriately labeled the hashtag BLM kidnapping. This was. I mean, the fact it was proven that Black Lives Matter supporters were not involved, but you had a lot of people who, prior to it being proven, were saying, before even the facts had come in, saying, well, these were Black Lives Matter supporters, and stating that as fact. And then once the new information came in, and I'm sure they saw it, they didn't retract their claims. So, well, I mean, I have to question whether they sincerely believe what they do. And sometimes I feel they know that so many people buy into what they say and don't think critically about it, that they just feel they can get away with it anyway. That's
absolutely, yes. I can't make videos like you guys make, edited and so on. I made a live stream explain because I saw a video. I could even say his name on board. It was Phil DeFranco. He inspired me because he was saying, "Oh, the 4 kidnappers were beating a Trump supporter." And I just said, no, but he was not a Trump supporter.
Wait, I saw that video. That's not what he said.
Wasn't it him, or was some other one?
No, I saw that video. I think I even shared it, and he got it right for the most part. What he said is that the Black people who held that person. No, but it was mentioned because those people who held that person captive started yelling at him like, fuck Trump or something. Trump. And he mentioned that. He mentioned what they were screaming at him. At no point did he say, like, that guy is definitely a Trump supporter, that he is a Trump supporter. I don't think he said that.
I'm phrasing it wrong. It may not have been him, but I've seen more than one videos that day of the YouTubers that I follow.
I'm sure it wasn't Philip.
It wasn't. No. You're right. It wasn't Philip. Shit. Sometimes my memory muddles, but there was a lot of news saying that they were beating a Trump supporter.
Yeah, BLM versus a Trump supporter. That's what you heard.
Exactly.
I heard it from everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I responded in a 6-minute hangout, which I made it talking. No, there was no evidence that they were BLM supporters. They could have been inspired. That's another story. That's totally different.
But even that, people are giving that a lot of credence. They're like, oh, they were influenced by BLM. Really?
Oh, influenced.
How do you know? People are acting as though BLM have a monopoly on anti-white racism in the US.
So this is what Lalo talks about all the time. Lalo says, "Go ahead, Lalo. Like, who do you know? Who is BLM? You can put a T-shirt on and identify."
Well, but aside from that, like I posted something about that there wasn't any evidence about BLM being involved or inspired. There was no naming of BLM at all in the situation.
No.
And when I pointed that out, I got backlash on Facebook a lot for that comment that I posted. But the fascinating thing was that a lot of the people weren't arguing with the fact that BLM wasn't involved. They acknowledged that. They just didn't like that I said it. And their argument was, well, they must have inspired these people. It had to have inspired these people. And I don't necessarily think that that's an automatic given, considering the fact that when you see these people, you know, they look like people who sit around, smoke a lot of weed, and play video games all day. I don't know. Like, can you really assume that these people are sitting at computers and doing research on you know, critical race theory and Black Lives Matter? Not every, you know, black person in the United States is sitting around watching YouTube like a lot of the YouTubers do. But I think what happens is that so many of the people on Twitter and YouTube, and I think it's because I'm new to social media up until 2 years ago, that I'm more disconnected than a lot of people about this stuff. So people who are online too much and always on Twitter and always on YouTube and know every little thing about Black Lives Matter, they think everyone else thinks like this. They think everyone else is sitting at their computer watching YouTube videos on Twitter and social media. A lot of people, actually most people, are not just sitting around watching social media. So there's no reason to assume that these teenage, you know, hipster losers who are very violent are politically motivated. They're probably just really nasty people, right?
Yes, they are nasty people.
But
yes.
I could be wrong. It could be that they're inspired by Black Lives Matter. I don't know. But to assume that now every violent act by black people against a white person is inspired by Black Lives Matter, that's ridiculous. Of course there was racial violence by black people against anyone else before Black Lives Matter ever existed. And the reverse is true as well. Just because a white person does a racist action against you know, a non-white person, I would also defend that if there's no evidence that they're inspired by the alt-right or Trump or whatever. I would also defend that, saying like, no, don't make false accusations or just snap jump assumptions.
Judgment.
Right? I would do the exact same thing.
No, exactly, absolutely.
You get a lot of people. Oh, go on, mate.
No one has mentioned, for example, Nation of Islam, the Black Panthers. They are also other groups that in the black community which are extremes. For example,
well, I made that point in a tweet the other day.
You did, yes, you did, Sam. Yes, that's why I was saying. That's also why I responded in my video that no, you can't just take the Black Lives Matter. They could have been just slightly inspired, but there's the mainstream media that's been pushing all the narrative that we all know, the narrative that they've been pushing. I don't know.
Maybe they were MTV fans. Who knows?
Yeah,
right? MTV.
Exactly.
Maybe they've never seen a Black Lives video. Black Lives Matter video. Yeah. But maybe they watch MTV videos all day. I don't know. And it could have inspired the exact same action. Consider what they show on MTV these days.
Yes, exactly. We shouldn't jump to conclusions. I tried in my video to say, calm down, wait for the actual facts, because neither were they. Neither was the kid was not the one that was tortured was not a Trump supporter, as a lot of the mainstream media and some YouTubers have pointed out. And just wait for the facts, and then after the facts are, and then you can make judgment.
But why don't the majority of the rational people call them out? Why don't the majority of people that are like that's stupid, why are you guys doing this, call it out and say, why give it any credibility at all? Why talk about it all? It would be, I don't know, it's the same as my kids saying something ridiculous. I'm just like, no, like, what are you talking about?
I feel, Jen, to answer that,
I have no idea.
I feel there's a lot of tribalism in a lot of these debates that is very unhelpful, in that people have a aversion to Black Lives Matter, and so they think, well, because I don't mind about the tactics, as long as the target is right, right? So I can say something incorrect about them, but okay, it's a net good because it was Black Lives Matter, and people
Right.
are I think sometimes can be not all obviously, but some people, especially on the internet, because of tribalism, can put aside, what would otherwise be, well recognized and well accepted.
I got maybe at least a dozen messages saying that it doesn't matter if Black Lives Matter is guilty or not, because this is like tit for tat. This is karma. This is them. This is what they've been doing. So they're getting a taste of their medicine. I saw these phrases from multiple people. People
That's so
saying they essentially don't care if it's a lie because, well, they're getting what they deserve, kind of thing. So, and in a world like that, it's just, how can you complain about fake news? You can't complain about fake news after that.
Oh, some of the people, I say this as a journalist, some of the people complaining about fake news are the fakest people I've ever seen, So I whenever I hear the term, I actually cringe. But it's true, there is fake news out there. And it's in both the mainstream and alternative media. But this is the tribalism I'm talking about, right? Because some people are so upset at the mainstream media, they look past the flaws of the alternative media. Because they're like, well, at least they're against the real bad guys, right? But they're willing to look past those flaws. Yet again,
well, it's like when Paul Joseph Watson shared that picture that supposedly was the Fort Lauderdale shooter that supposedly CNN had lightened the skin of the Fort Lauderdale shooter. So one, that was never posted on CNN, and two, that wasn't even a picture of the Fort Lauderdale shooter. It was just some random guy with the same name, and somebody put that on a blog post. It was never on any real news site. And Paul Joseph Watson shared it. Now, how much credibility did he lose with his followers for having done that? I would guess very close to zero. They don't care.
And also he deleted the tweet. And well done to the Daily Beast actually for doing an article so quickly and calling it out, because that was spreading online.
Well, he should have deleted it, but what he also should have done is make a post saying, "I'm very sorry for posting this picture of this guy who was not the shooter at all, and I'm sorry if I did any harm to him, and you guys should, make it clear that this is not the shooter." Nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that.
Exactly what I was about to say. Yeah. He should
no correction given whatsoever.
Yeah,
and this is a guy who screams on his videos all day, "Where's the correction from CNN on this mistake they made? It's false, fake news, blah blah blah."
Right. But the thing is, he's done that. Now I remember seeing the tweet. It had around 11,000 likes, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I think it had. The last time I saw it on the night, and so obviously, the amount of people who saw that tweet. There'll be a lot of people who saw that when CNN whitened that person, and then they've turned their computer off or laptop off, and then that's the perception in their head. And Paul Joseph Watson, because he's not corrected himself there, has just left that inaccuracy there. The hand.
Oh, and now it's taken. And even if even though he's erased it, I see it on Facebook now. People, like, every 10 minutes it pops up in my feed from people who have now transformed that into a meme. It's a picture of the fake guy that wasn't the shooter, and next to it is the lightened skin version of it, and underneath it says reality and CNN, and this is being shared. And even when people point out, they see it and they say, "Hey, by the way, that is not the shooter. They never lightened the skin." They're like, whatever. It's just funny. This poor guy. Who cares that he's being tarnished this way or whatever? It's just a meme.
He's a reactionary, snot-nosed kid. I don't understand why he should be laughed off the internet. He's just, why would any adult that would have any kind of shame and some intellect, taking him seriously is embarrassing. Just like, what are you doing? He's just a little kid that just like screams a lot over nothing. He doesn't know shit.
But the thing about him is, it's like what Lalo said about people who get clicks earlier. I mean, whatever you think about him, he's a very charismatic guy who puts forward his opinions in a very straightforward and convincing way. So there has to be.
That's why I said I'm old now.
Right.
Because all I see him is this little snot-nosed punk kid.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't see that. They I mean, he really does. I mean, the thing is, not everyone who goes on the internet is going to know all the facts about everything, and some of them will go to Paul Joseph Watson to get their facts. And Carlos was talking earlier about an insular morality, insular worldviews. I think what Paul Joseph Watson does is he's really good at kind of this, getting people to rally against all these different people who disagree with him, and really demonize them to the point of thinking, no, I'm the crusader for truth.
Wait. He rallies a bunch of people to hate certain groups using false information. Who does that sound like?
Well,
doesn't it sound exactly like the social justice warriors?
Indeed. Well, I remember interviewing you, Lalo, and you said you didn't like the horseshoe theory because you just think these are the same people, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, they're not going, because horseshoe theory implies that these people are heading in different directions. It's not like that. It's like two trains on parallel tracks moving in the exact same direction because they're doing the exact same thing and they're heading to the exact same outcome and conclusions. It's not a horseshoe theory. A horseshoe theory would people going too much in the opposite direction. They're not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, it's that's the thing. He's very good at that. He's really good at demonizing, other people. And that way, I think that's part of the reason some of his followers are so dedicated. Because if you go all the way with him and believe it, then you get to a point where you're like, no, that they're fake news, they're corrupt, they're this, they're that. This guy's the truth. What's he?
I think also why a lot of these people get very popular, like him and a few others, is that they are the closest you can get to a mainstream person who's teetering the line of straight up bigotry, right? It's just, and they, so it's kind of like bigoted CNN, right? It's racist CNN. It's like, instead of just presenting facts and saying, giving some nuance to the situation, some people really just want to see the SJW version for the alt-right. Right? They want to see videos just saying, just like you see with the social justice warriors just hating on white people. Some people want to see the exact same opposite of people just hating on Muslims and hating on black people and hating on all these other minority groups. Some people just want to throw out the nuance and just say, you know what, we're tired of nuance. These people offer no nuance or kind of more balanced thinking for white people. So why should we offer this mentality back? They're sick of it. And to some degree, people sometimes reach a breaking point, and it's not easy to remain balanced and level-headed, right? But I think it's important to. But these guys, they put out it's very similar to like MTV. They're just like the Francesca Ramsey or Black Lives Matter of the white community.
Well, I think the other thing I have to say about that is that I don't think people hold these people to the same standards as they hold mainstream news. And that might make me unpopular as someone who, there might be people who disagree with that, because obviously I'm doing kind of alternative media on the internet. So maybe it's, people wouldn't expect me to say that. But people, with people who like Paul Joseph Watson, a lot of them, they won't hold, if someone in CNN acted the way Paul Joseph Watson acts, did the things he did, falsifies things the way he does, they wouldn't have a job the next day. Let's be completely honest, or they'd be far less likely to. I think would be more appropriate to say. I'm not saying CNN is flawless, but people I don't know why this is, but people appear to hold. Perhaps what I was saying previously explains part of this, but people appear to hold these two to completely different standards. And I know, you can't, I've been in mainstream newsrooms before, and believe me, I've seen and heard from people who they've got a spelling wrong in a title, and they've been called in the office, and people have had a massive go at them. Like they are held to, they do hold themselves on many things to a high standard, and I think they wouldn't. I think if you had like a ranting Alex Jones figure, doing something for CNN, people will be like, "What is this? What the hell is this?" And this is meant to be a respectable news organization. But on InfoWars, it's okay. It gets 2,000 likes.
Well, for example, the picture that Paul Joseph Watson tweeted of the Fort Lauderdale shooter, that wasn't right. It wasn't him at all. I didn't see like a bunch of people on Twitter and Facebook tweeting out, "Hey, this was tweeted by Paul Joseph Watson and it was fake news." I didn't see anyone saying that. Aside from me, I could literally, I think it was, you saw like Melissa Chen pronounce it, but it wasn't in my feed. I didn't see screen captures of it saying this was fake news. No, it wasn't around. People didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
No interest. No interest. And people realized it was fake news. Plenty of people were told. It's like, hey, by the way, that's fake news. They don't care.
I don't take Paul Joseph Watson at all seriously.
That's my problem. He's like a little kid. He's cute. I want to maybe feed him a sandwich and give him a blanket, but like, he's just a reactionary kid. But I think that's detrimental to me.
I'd put him over my knees until he
But aside from
that's
him,
doing me a disservice, though, to say that. Like, my attitude towards him is actually, I think, like doing me a disservice. I'm not listening enough because I'm not taking him seriously. I need to listen.
But
I listen to him, but
that's beside the point.
I listen to him, but go on.
Go ahead,
Lala. Sorry.
No, well, I
was just going to say,
God damn it! Okay, you go, Carlos.
You first, man.
Son of a bitch. Okay. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that aside from a criticism of Paul Joseph Watson, it's important to recognize that, like Sam was saying, that he's not held to that same standard. He posts something that's false. He just deletes it, doesn't really retract it, doesn't give any correction, and nobody really cares. And that says a lot of bad things of the public, either that follow him or in general, aside from just him, right? That there's a problem there in as far as users, because we talk about people talk about fake news as something, but is fake news just one-sided in the sense that is it just a problem that the person creating a Facebook account or a Twitter account and pushing fake news out there, that's the only problem? And I don't think that's the only problem. The problem is people don't care if it's fake news, right? They don't have a huge problem with fake news, and that helps fake news spread because they'll retweet something that favors their narrative, and when they find out it's false, whatever. So it's the public that's actually more to blame for fake news than the creators of fake news. It seems we lost Jen.
Oh, she'll come back. She has the link. Exactly. I don't take Paul Joseph Watson. I follow him. I watch his videos and that, but I can't. I even sometimes agree with what he says on some points, because a clock is right two times a day, as the saying goes. He has some valid points, but
this can I interrupt there? Sorry, Carlos.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
The thing with that is, and some people always raise that point. Okay, they always say, look, he's got some weird views on global warming. He's a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. He's published a video saying how the Illuminati control the music industry. But I agree with him on X issue. But he talks sense on X issue. The problem with this is that when Joseph Watson is doing journalistic work, okay, so part of his responsibility is to inform people. So now, given that, not everyone, and I would submit most people, don't have the time to go through every single claim that every single article they ever read has made. They don't have the time to go, oh, that was factually correct in that report, that wasn't incorrect. People have lives, they have jobs, they have families. They can't attend to every single fact. At some point, when you get your news, you have to take it on face value and say, I'll take this on face value because I trust this media outlet. And if you do have enough time to go through every single factual claim, then all the more power to you. Then this doesn't apply to you. But most people don't have that time, don't have that luxury, and you have to look at the past record of people and things they've done and say, okay, I'm going to class certain media outlets in terms of which ones are credible, which ones are not credible. Simply as a means of being efficient about these things. So, I mean, and to be honest, if Paul Joseph Watson hasn't done enough to be classed in the not so credible category, then I don't know who has. I really don't know who has. So
I agree with you, Sam, also in the sense that to say that somebody you agree with them on a few points, therefore I don't throw him entirely out. I think that's fine in the case that we're talking about somebody who speaks honestly and you just disagree with their subjective opinion on certain topics. So, if a person, for the most part, they're trying to give you reasonable reasons why they like Trump, and I don't like Trump, but they're telling me, look, I like Trump because, look, Hillary is really bad. I don't trust her. Trump, he says like some very controversial things, but et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, I disagree with them. Are they lying to me? No.
Yeah.
They're giving me reasons that sound very honest to them. It's degrees to who's worse and things like that. They're not lying. We disagree. Now, as Carlos was saying, hey, I agree with some stuff from this guy. I disagree with some others. But that's not the case here. The case here is that it's not about whether we disagree with what he's saying or not. It's that sometimes he lies. Or sometimes he makes a mistake. I wouldn't say every time he makes a mistake, it's automatically lie. He could make sometimes mistakes. In the case of the Fort Lauderdale picture, okay, maybe he made a mistake, but does he correct himself? No. Does he clarify the mistake later? No. So the point is, it's not about whether I disagree or I agree with him. It's that, is a person speaking honestly? And if they're not speaking honestly, the same thing happened with me with the Young Turks. I found out they were lying or they made mistakes and they didn't correct themselves. Therefore, I trust nothing they say. Right? But people, when they are seeing someone who reaffirms their narrative, and this goes for the far left to the far right, they excuse and they look past and they glaze over all these instances of lying. And I never do. I don't care if a person agrees with me, 99%, which never happens anyway. But if they agree with me for the most part, I will take a person who I disagree with to like 20%. That's, we only agree on 20% of things versus a person I agree with 99%. But the person who I agree with 99%, they tend to lie. They tend to misrepresent facts, or if they get things wrong, they don't correct themselves. Versus a person who I disagree with tend to look, oh, I got this wrong. I'm going to clarify very well. I got it wrong. Here it is. I try, give the truth, even though we disagree. I'll take the person I disagree with over the person I agree with. I don't care if Paul Joseph Watson anything right. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and that's the point. Yeah, it's not about disagreement. It's about being false, and that's the reason and not just that, Lalo. In a job where your responsibility is to inform your audience, just the random YouTuber, it is slightly more excusable. But when you are an editor at a media outlet, there is an undertaking that comes with that. You have a duty to keep your audience informed, stick to the facts, and be accurate. And that just comes with being a journalist. And that means the weight of expectation should be even higher in the case of someone like that.
Well, it should be higher in the sense that, look, a lot of YouTubers are online. They sometimes make a video about, something that happened in a shooting, but that's not their full-time job. Nobody pays them really to do it. They make a video and maybe they get something wrong, but hey, they got to take care of their kids. They got to go to work. They can't make another video right away. It's not their job, right? And you shouldn't really see these people as like media news outlets. It's just commentary. But he works for InfoWars. He makes money from this. He has an industry backing him up, and he's on this full time. Okay, so how can you not? He has no excuse to not send out a tweet saying, "Hey, I got this wrong. This picture I pointed out to 10,000 people, were retweeted by 10,000 people that has now gone viral and now became a meme for saying the CNN lightened his skin." He can't clarify that with a video, with a tweet. He hasn't done that, at least as far as I know. If I'm wrong, somebody send it to me. I'd be happy to see
No,
it.
I don't believe he has. And the other day, I went on his Twitter bio, and and he said editor-in-chief of Infowars, and then he put in capitals, not not a journalist or reporter, so don't call me one. You know, and I just said, look, you can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm the editor of some massive journalistic, a massive media outlet. It's a journalistic role, and then go, oh, I'm not a journalist. To me, this is just a way of avoiding responsibility, and I found that very interesting. Actually, I found that very interesting, given his.
Well, even if he says he's not a journalist, that doesn't reduce the fact that it's okay to lie or not be honest. That's not what not being a journalist is.
Right.
I don't lie. I absolutely do not lie.
Bullshit. That's a lie.
No.
Total
it's
lie,
not.
dude.
Never. I will. That's me. I don't lie. If I post something wrong, I absolutely no. This is an imperative that I correct it. I've done that a lot of times. If I get something wrong, I correct it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I could mislead people, but I never tell lie because I know how to go around it. But I don't lie. They are still facts.
How many black girls have you dated?
Well, I haven't dated any black girls actually.
Racist. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm not racist.
Sorry,
I just didn't meet any. I love what's her name?
Beyonce.
No, she's got too big a butt. I'm not a butt person.
What? There's no such thing. That's too big a butt.
No, yes, there is. I'm a boob person. I like boobs. I like a nice, shapely athlete's butt, not a big.
I'm sorry, Sam wanted to say something. I totally derailed the conversation.
As fascinating as Carlos's boob fascination is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say, but the thing with that is, I think this bothers me. It's actually a massive pet hate of mine when someone just gets something wrong, and then automatically someone goes, "Yeah, he's lying. This person's intellectually dishonest." It's like, whoa, that's a jump. You know, you don't know yet whether he's, you know, the lie implies there's an intent behind it, like he's intending to deceive you. You don't know whether that's the case yet, because he might just have got that wrong. And I feel when I look at a lot of online debates, especially on Twitter, I see a lot of people not really extending this good faith to other people, that that you know, you might have just been wrong. You know,
I'm totally guilty of that. Guilty of that.
They assume motive, and I don't think that's right. I think you should. Again, it's about waiting. You have to wait for the evidence when you strike with a claim like that, because it's a big claim to call someone a liar. It's a really mean thing to call someone. Especially
a lot of people noticed that I kind of held back for like a day before calling out Adam Saleh.
Mm-hmm.
For his supposed, you know, getting kicked off a plane for, you know, speaking Arabic thing. Now, right. I was paying a lot of attention to the story, but I didn't post anything about him being dishonest or lying.
Mm-hmm.
I just posted what had happened first.
Yep.
And but the thing was, I knew evidence was going to come in, mm-hmm. right? Me and Jen were pretty familiar with this guy. Faisal also was very familiar with the guy, and he was all over the thing too on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the information was going to come in showing that he was dishonest, and so I just waited until that information came along, right? But yeah, I do resist, even if it was so obvious to me that this guy must be lying. I still resisted the urge to just put it out there before I had any evidence of it.
That dude makes me so angry.
Well, Adam Saleh.
Because
go on. Sorry.
No, he plays on people's fears and discriminations, and to try to make money and profit off of the dividing people even further when it's so bad right now, and making people more afraid when they don't need to be, is one of the most disgusting things I have witnessed a human do without physical violence. personally, my opinion.
Well, that's the thing. I think with him, it was one thing it does a disservice to is actual future cases of anti-Muslim bigotry, because that is a problem.
It's real, yeah. It is a thing.
I think there were because I wrote an article on this. There were over 250 reported incidents of anti-Muslim hate crime in, I think it was 2015. So it is an issue.
Yeah, but the thing is that it was so obvious that it was going to come out that he was lying, right? And the passengers who came off the plane were interviewed. They all said, and a lot of these people were not white at all, and they're looking at to the interviewer that was like NBC or ABC, one of those news outlets that interviewed the passengers coming off the plane. They said, no, this kid and his friend they got up out of their seats, they started yelling something off the top of their lungs. There was a woman right behind them, said, Jesus, could you just keep it down? You're scaring my kids. And they said, and Adam Saleh told the woman, shut up and just enjoy your flight, multiple times. The husband got upset. Everyone else got upset. They're like, what's wrong with you guys? And of course, they're trying to do some goddamn prank. It's against the law and against policy of airlines to have people start disturbances. And they were kicked off. Right now, what happens is that it's so obvious that Adam Saleh is going to come out as false. He's not going to get away with this. But the fact that an instance of anti-Muslim bigotry is shown to be false, people are going to be less likely to believe the next story. And the next story could be true, right? The next person who really faces bigotry, because that could happen. It definitely does happen in this world, right? Mm-hmm. But even I'm suspicious of it. And we all are now, because, hey, we've seen, like, how many stories have I now seen in the last month of some woman who said she was attacked by Trump supporters and got her hijab pulled off, and turned out to be false.
That's
right. The next poor woman that this does happen to, because this does happen, that women get attacked wearing a hijab or anything. I'm going to be very, very suspicious of her.
Yeah,
right?
that woman that you're talking about, she actually herself admitted that
there was more than one story. I saw like 3 stories of that, at least I posted.
There was quite a few of them.
Yep. No, there was another one in the they're still investigating it now, about the University of Michigan student who police claim reported without evidence that a man threatened to burn her hijab, and that's allegedly at the moment. But again, it goes to show, even that in itself is going to cause doubt. So,
and that harm is done by those, like, people like Adam Saleh and like these women make these false claims. It's because of these Muslim people that other Muslim people who really face bigotry are going to be, not believed, and people are going to be like, you're crying wolf at this point. That's a shame.
That's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of we can call them the social justice warriors, etc. That every time a situation where the scenario of the crying wolf occurs, and false blaming, etc., false claims, that only hurts the real victims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly stupid that they think they're doing a service. They know they are actually harming them much, much, much more than shut their fucking mouths and not do what they think they're doing.
Oh, they just want. Oh, those ones are just attention seekers, and it wouldn't matter if it was the hijab or if it was anything else they could find to get the attention. It happens to be they had the attention of the nation at the time, and that's what they did. They don't think about the future or how it's going to affect people. I wish they would.
Even
they should be held accountable for that. I honestly would. I honestly think they should be held accountable for those false claims.
Even Cenk Uygur called bullshit on it. So
yeah, when he does it, then you know.
Wow.
Yeah, even Cenk Uygur really didn't buy Adam Saleh's story.
Yeah.
But he did that other one where he was counting down in Arabic really loud on an airplane to scare people.
Mhm.
And it just, like I said, that's what I find, it's vile. It just to do that and to rile up more fear and more discord and more division between people is just it's sickening. And he should be booed and jeered wherever he goes for it. I hate whatever.
I would love for Adam Saleh to be placed on a no-fly list, and he'd have to take the bus everywhere he goes.
Oh, he'd just do the pranks on the bus then. I mean,
Yeah, but the bus they can
Right?
just kick him out, and he'd have to fucking walk. It'd be funny if they open the aircraft door and kick him out.
But
God,
I agree with you. I think the minute you do one prank on an airplane, I think you should be like not allowed to fly for maybe a few years. I really think so, because an airplane is a very delicate situation. You're basically on a tin can with two rockets on the side, and it's flying through the air. There's no room for people to just fuck around on there. This is not your moment to make a YouTube video and disturb people and cause a ruckus. No, it's a daily thing, and we all take it very lightly now. But it's not there's a reason why, for example, Delta has a zero disturbance policy. You can't do that. You'll get kicked off right away, and it should be that way. Like the policy of Delta, and I think any other airline, just like, no, we don't tolerate any kind of disturbance. We kick you off right away. And some people take this as to mean discrimination. No, that's the way it has to be. It has to be that we have zero tolerance on this very delicate situation, which is a tin can flying through the air at what is it, thousands of kilometers an hour? I don't know how fast the plane goes.
Yeah, they go between 900 and 1200. It depends on the plane, but I won't go into
Wait,
the
nerd
science
cred, total nerd cred right now.
Yeah.
I don't want nerd cred.
Do you know what's disgusting? And I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. I know why, but it's fascinating. Like, Adam Saleh is not on the no-fly list, and my son is on the no-fly list. Figure how
The priorities.
why it just what I get it. I understand why, but again, it's ironic.
It's priorities. Your how old is your son? What, 5, 6, 7?
No, my son's 14 now.
14. Okay, your 14-year-old son he's much more dangerous than what? Adam Saleh is what, 24, 25?
He's been on the no-fly list since he was 2.
That's what I'm trying. I'm making the point. You're a baby on no-fly, but that moron that's making people
Totally
panic.
cool for him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? That doesn't make sense to me. It just I don't get it.
To another subject, did any of you guys hear the Waking Up podcast with Majid Nawaz as a guest?
I haven't.
I've seen a few. Yeah, I haven't read that. I haven't listened to that one yet.
Lala, you're gonna make me say bad things about Majid, and then.
But go on, tell us the main talking points.
No, I just suggest you guys watch it, because it's kind of surprising. Like, every subject, Majid's position on it is like, I don't know if everybody's gonna anticipate what position he's gonna take, because he was very like he has I guess a beef, some kind of fight going on with Robert Spencer. He went very easy on Robert Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about Trump. He seemed very hopeful about Trump. He talked about immigration, and he was very sympathetic to the kind of limited immigration policies. Everything was not exactly what I expected, but the way he spoke about it was very nuanced, very thoughtful, looking at every side. He wasn't that enthusiastic about Obama's legacy in the Middle East and the policies he's taken internationally. Didn't like that much. When I tweeted about it, I was like Majid speaks with so much nuance and thought that maybe we should call him instead Majid Nuance.
Nuance, yeah.
Really? He went totally like that? I should watch it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think it's interesting for people to hear, because almost every topic he talked about, it wasn't how I thought he might respond, which was interesting.
What was it?
I have to. Don't give me spoilers. I haven't listened to it.
I was going to ask for spoilers.
Don't give spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the spoiler, Sam?
Carlos, close your ears.
No
It's
major
not-
spoilers.
This is not like a
Sam's
movie.
gonna
It's-
spoil.
I don't mind movie
Sam's like,
spoilers.
no,
Listen,
it's just
Same
I've
spoilers
way.
for
never
the
heard-
podcast.
Podcasts don't have spoilers. What are you talking about? This isn't like a Sherlock Holmes story.
That's awesome.
I haven't listened to it yet. I've got
That doesn't make sense.
I've got
I've never heard
Close
somebody
your
say
ears.
like,
Whistle.
6 Sam Harris's podcasts. I have 6 Sam Harris podcasts in backlog. I haven't listened to them.
So don't spoil any of them.
No, you can. You can just don't make it major spoilers because I want to form my own.
these are intellectual conversations about politics and religion.
This is
It's not.
Carlos
It's
is
not
awesome.
a movie. It's so weird.
I know, Lalo. God, you guys take it too literal. Jeez.
What were you going to ask, Sam?
I was going to ask, how did he justify his optimism for Trump? I find that interesting.
So it's not that he was totally optimistic, but he's like, you know, we do have to kind of see. For example, he mentioned some of the people he had chosen, like the ex-general Petraeus, as working in, I think it was national security or one of those positions, and he spoke about, you know, he's met Petraeus and he thinks he's a very intelligent person and very well suited for the role, and he mentioned some other people, and so he says, you know, it's kind of give or take, you know, some pros and cons, but it's not that you should just look at this and just like, oh, it's we just looking for the worst parts of it, kind of thing. Right. But yeah, no, I think, you know, again, it's nuanced. It's not that he just saw everything positive or negative. He's a very thoughtful person, Majid. I think he analyzes things very deeply before giving his opinion on it.
Yeah. I to be honest, I'm probably in favor of some limiting immigration myself. So, you know, I don't. I'm not actually unsurprised by Majid's position there. Because I think that's a lot of people on the left in the UK may begin to warm to that.
Well, Majid obviously was very aware, and of course it's not the right-wing argument. It's not a bigoted argument. It's a very good and thoughtful argument that the quantities of people that you're bringing in are simply going to create ghettos, and it's going to ghettoize these people, and it's not going to. It's so much better if you bring in less amount of people, and you dedicate yourself to helping these people specifically. But if you bring in too many people, you're not helping them, and you create a situation for them. And he made multiple arguments, a lot emphasized this multiple times about how taking these bad policies leads to the empowerment of the right wing.
Oh yeah, well, but the thing in the UK is that. Because the left wing party, or what is seen as the left wing party, the Labour Party, and to be honest, a lot of the mainstream parties, because they can't get this immigration issue under control. You know, I mean, Conservatives under David Cameron famously promised they'd get immigration down to the tens of thousands. Nowhere near that goal. Nowhere near. So. The more they kind of fail on this, the more it's going to empower the more extreme parties on the right in particular who are obsessed with this issue. Because if they don't tackle it from a position of you know, tolerance but sensibility, but others will tackle it from a position of authoritarianism and bigotry. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you let's say 1 million people come in, and you don't really take care of these people, they don't get housing, they don't get education, they don't learn the language, they don't adapt. So it's okay. Then suddenly they start to, because there's so many of them, they start to all start living in cohabitation in small communities, right? And of course, these people are not educated, they don't speak the language, they haven't integrated, so they usually live in poverty, they don't have good jobs. They create their own schools, and in their own schools, they speak their own language. And there's so many of them, they practice their own culture in these little compressed areas. So they're not integrating. They're not educated. They're not being educated. They're not climbing up on the social and class stratification levels, right? And so of course that's going to create that, these people are probably going to commit more crime. They're going to become gangs in these communities. They're going to be no-go zones for police, which is going to increase crime even more. And that is going to, and every one of those instances and every one of these characteristics is going to be another element the right wing can point out to say, hey, look at these people, right? So the left is creating a situation in these countries that is going to empower the opposition. So there's not a complete, lack of argument against this kind of open borders, let's take in as many Syrian Muslims as we can take.
Well, I regret the fact that in the UK, for example, we have Sharia courts, because I think they compound. They're one example is a policy introduced in the UK that talking about their introduction that compounds this problem of segregated communities. Not to mention the resulting horrible treatment of women that's happened in several instances. But I think a lot of the policies in the UK have been unhelpful, and I wouldn't even confine it to the left. I think it's just mainstream parties in the UK have failed on these issues surrounding multiculturalism and immigration and integration. There's this kind of tolerance of the intolerant at times, which is really unhelpful. Good example again is the burqa. Now I suspect some liberals may disagree with me on this. I don't see it as a sign of intolerance to ban the burqa, and I think as soon as you say something like that, a lot of people in mainstream political parties or who are mainstream figures in the UK politically get really overwhelmed by this. And but if you look at it simplistically, I do think it's a worthwhile security measure to take. And I do it for all face coverings in public, by the way, not just the burqa, as they do in France. And I think that's a legitimate debate that you can have. I think there's a liberal case for a burqa ban, or face coverings ban, I should say, to be more accurate. But I think that there's this.
Wait. What about the woman's autonomy, and if she wants to cover her face because the religion says that she believes that she needs to cover her face?
I believe that when you look at human rights theory, you'll often get times when rights conflict with each other. You'll have two rights that conflict with each other. A good example is so does a newspaper have a right to go on your lawn and take a photo of you while you're sunbathing, in your house? So the newspaper will say, well, that's we're technically outside, and that's our freedom of expression, and that's our freedom. We can take photos of where we like. We're a free press. And you will say, well, no, what about my right to privacy? You can't take over. And so these two rights come into conflict with each other, and then you have to weigh up what right is more important than the other. So in the case of the burqa, I think yes, the right of the woman to choose what she wears is obviously a right, but you have to, I think, counterbalance that with the security issue. People have a right to security, so I think security outweighs.
But the burqa is not just a security issue. Multiple things that you do in your day require you to show your face to someone, right? How many times do you have to show your ID to buy something, right? Use your credit card. Sometimes you have to show your ID to buy medication. Sometimes you have to show your ID you go to the hospital, you have to show your ID. And every one of these instances, they have to match that face on the ID to your face. If you get stopped by the police when you're driving or any other time to just check what you're doing, they ask for your driver's license or your ID, and they match your face to the ID. If you travel, they match your passport to your face. It happens. If you go out and do errands, this might happen 10 times in the day, maybe. And so every one of these instances also, they get an exception. Why?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason. And if you're going to give them an exception because of religion, well, then that's not a religious exception. That's a religious privilege, because that's a privilege I don't have.
Yes,
I can't go through the day with a a mask on my face just for secular reasons. So they're privileged in a way I'm not.
Indeed, and there was a debate over whether Sikhs, there still is debate over whether Sikhs should be able to take the I believe it's called the kirpan. It's like a knife that they is important. That's like a religious figure that they keep on them in public. But obviously, everyone else is not allowed to have kind of knives in public. So if you allow an exception for them because for cultural religious reasons,
I've seen like at least some like reasonable.
It's not equality.
Right, but I've seen like reasonable halfways with that, where they say, look, you have to carry around that object, but maybe dull down the blade or take the blade out completely, and just have like the kind of where it's kept in the handle, right, as a symbolism. But the blade itself sharp, you can't have in there, and I think that's a good halfway point. You're not allowed to have a blade, but you can have your symbolic religious symbol there. Okay. But to cover your face, no. There's many situations where you have to show your face, and every one of those situations I mentioned where you're showing your face to match your ID or your passport or your driver's license, there's good reason they match your face. Like, okay, your face is covered, and then what? You can buy alcohol, you can drive, and then what? You show your ID, and you don't know if this person matches the person in the ID.
That's very dangerous.
It could be a completely different person.
The case of that in Australia.
And like how many kids it's gonna occur to them if they don't have to show their ID, if the woman's in a burqa, are gonna go out and buy alcohol or buy other stuff that they can't buy at a certain age and they just put on a burqa. Hey, don't judge me.
Imagine if everyone in
I don't claim to know a lot of what's in the Quran or the Hadiths or the other book.
Nothing interesting. Nothing interesting.
I don't know if there's some passages in that forces women to wear the hijab, the hadith, the full face covering, and etc. But up until
there's nothing that says that a woman has to cover her face.
Exactly, because up until the 60s and early 70s, you see there are photographs of Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, most except Saudi Arabia, but most of the countries of the Islamic, which are now very fundamentalists, the women wore normal clothing. You even have pictures of their traditional millennial.
Then the extremists took over, and but they have these surahs in the Quran that kind of sort of say that, and hadiths that kind of sort of say that. So then you have the muftis ruling on it, or there's some
cover the hair
to cover your face.
Cover the hair.
So you have some imams that are quite extreme. It's like the conservative Christians. They say to the extreme, I'm going to interpret it as this, and then when you get the ruling party that are conservatives, then they just make that the rule of law for everyone.
That is the argument that if something in Islam that is being practiced locally somewhere, if it's not in the Quran, it's not really Islam. That's a total fallacy that is not applied to other religions. Would anybody say, for example, that the Pope is not and the Vatican are in no way religious or Christian because the concept of a Pope and the Vatican is not in the Bible? Nobody would say that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to justify why now in the last 30 years, basically, there's been this forcing of women to wear the full covering, etc. When there are documented evidence, historical evidence that there were traditional clothing, and those countries did not cease to be quite religious, like in Catholics, Christians.
That's like politics between the sects of Islam. That's politics in the Middle East, and that's influence from Saudi that's doing that.
That was also
all sorts of reasons.
If you study Islamic politics of the last 100 years, basically it comes down to certain ideologies that all of which concentrate on the objective of becoming great again. There is the belief that the Islamic world was great. How do we become great again? And so multiple ideas across the Arab and Muslim world were presented. One of them was, for example, there's pan-Arabism, or there's pan-Islamism. Either concentrating on that Arabs should be united and into one kind of unified country, or that all Muslims should, which would include Indonesia and Iran and different countries, that should be all one cohesive country. And then there were the people who planted the idea, well, to become great, we have to adapt to the modern world and use the technology and the advancements and go along with the times. And there was other people who said, no, we have to go back to the traditional time when we were great and we were more religious, we were more pious, and we will then be over. We will take over we will be in competition with the rest of the world. We need to be more religious. That was kind of like Wahhabism,
that was that was the fundamental difference following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire.
That's what I was going to mention. Yes, exactly. The collapse of the Ottoman, they ceased to have a caliphate.
That's the fundamental difference. Where there were two different ideological kind of strands that came from that. One is, the kind of idea that is the real philosophical foundation behind modern day Turkey, which is what kind of Lalo picked up on there, where you have to be more open and aside from Turkey's problems now, be more open, be more secular, be more in line with the modern world. And then the another side thought, well, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire is a punishment from God, and the way to address this is to be more religious, be more pious, and this is the foundation of Salafism.
And this happens in many countries. For example, just like Sam is talking about Turkey, you get the same thing in Iran. Why does it happen that Iran, that it goes from being more secular and leaning towards modernization, that they go full very strict Shiite fundamentalism and it's also, they have there's the Ottoman Empire that believe, we were such a big empire, we had all this territory, we were so great. Also Persia also has that concept, hey, the Persian Empire was a very big empire, we were very powerful, how do we get back to those days of grandeur? And also some of the country believes the way to do that is to be a more pious, more fundamentalist in their practices. And that's why you get in 1979 the Iranian Revolution, where it seems to go backward, but to them it's like, what element do we use to become great? And it's very strange. For example, in the Ibn Saud in the 40s with the United States, he wanted to modernize the country, and he had a lot of pushback when he wanted to bring in television and things like that, and they wanted to keep a very strict and fundamentalist form of Islam, while at the same time bringing in certain forms of modernization and have a balance with that, right? And they've actually been successful at keeping it, with very harsh totalitarian kind of a form of living. They've been able to keep that balance where you have a very modernized country at the same time being extremely fundamentalist.
Yeah, and you've got that fundamental.
Sam,
go on.
Sorry, you mentioned that about the collapse of the Ottoman Empire possibly leading to more religious fundamentalism and so on. But that's just one path. I'll give you an example. In 1755, an 8.4 earthquake on the Richter scale hit Lisbon. Lisbon at that time in Portugal, you could equate them to the Wahhabis of Saudi Arabia, except for Christendom, right? Can you imagine an equivalent of the Wahhabis for Christendom? Portugal was that. They were literally fundamentalist, extremist Christians.
Mm-hmm.
They spent all their colonial booty money that they got on building churches and praising God and etc. An earthquake hit on All Saints Day, one of the most biggest religious, significant religious dates of Christendom, Catholicism. And you know what that led to? The aftermath of the earthquake? It led to the rise of atheism. Up until then, no philosopher in Europe or anywhere talked about atheism after the Greeks. The Greeks were the first, of course, but that day, after the Portuguese earthquake, Descartes and other philosophers of Europe began questioning, does God really exist?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way. The Islam fundamentalism of the 70s and 80s, which I think was pushed on by Marxism, went one way, down on religion, while in that marking point of Christendom, 5 earthquake of Lisbon, we went the Christendom went another way.
Right. Well, it's interesting how big political events can really shift the dynamics. You know, not just in a nation, but in a region entirely. So, you know, you look at leftist movements in the Arab world were much stronger a few decades ago. You know, nationalist movements, and now it seems a lot of the kind of quote unquote anti-imperialist groups, as they portray themselves to be, are more fundamentalist Islamic on the whole, for the most part. So that's explainable by different political changes that have happened, the end of the Cold War, you know, and you know, things like the Bosnian genocide that helped to heighten this sense of Muslim identity. So these sort of things, these sort of events are important. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely, I agree with you totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are points in history which send society one way or the other.
Right, and Lalo talked about the 1979 Iran Revolution. I think that was a key moment, actually, in the whole dynamic shift of the kind of movements we see in the Middle East today. I think it really was.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we have another 15 minutes if you guys want to. We'll just
is there a countdown to this hangout? I didn't know that.
No, not really a countdown. It just
Has anybody seen any good YouTube channels? I've been watching a lot of CinemaSins.
That's a
CinemaSins, yes.
Oh,
that's one of the best on YouTube.
I just didn't watch it for how so fucking.
And,
I can binge watch.
Do you watch Red Letter Media?
No. You know what I can binge watch for ages? Watch Mojo. I can just binge watch their top 10 lists for.
I can't too, and then I feel guilty. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be filling my head with information, not this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. They have good ones like movies and about movies that are good. CinemaSins is awesome. I love it when it's a movie I've seen before and I've gone, oh, that was quite good, and then I see it there and then I go, actually, you know, they've changed my mind on this.
Right, or they point out certain fallacies or certain mistakes or certain plot lines that didn't, you know, were never resolved, and you're like, oh my god, that's what did happen to that guy in that scene that came out that never appeared again? You're like, why? What?
Honest trailers is also cracks me up.
Oh, those are great.
That voice is so fucking awesome.
Yeah, I used to watch a lot of honest trailers, but I just like that CinemaSins has a long format, right? It goes for 15 minutes where they talk about like the whole movie, breaking it down.
Watch Red Letter Media if they do Half in the Bag, but they also have Plinkett. They just do movie. It's the best ever. They do bad movie reviews. They do the Half in the Bag. Just watch them. Red Letter Media.
On CinemaSins, they did one on Saw. the horror franchise, and they made this great point that I just didn't notice when I saw it. So there's a scene in one of the Saws where like Jigsaw, who's the kind of malevolent mastermind behind these traps, he sends all these people in this group to a pit, and it's got loads of needles in it. Like
Oh, I remember that scene. Yeah.
and you have to there's like a key at the bottom of this pile, and one of the people in the group has to jump in through all these new.
But one of the guys throws in a girl to get it, right?
Yeah, he throws in a girl, and the
Yeah.
CinemaSins guy goes, "Wait, how did Jigsaw get all these needles? Like, how did he collect all these used needles? You know, he can't have used them all himself because then he'd be dead. And, you know, where has he found them? Like, parks? Does he just have one guy that goes and collects them for it? And I was just thinking, yeah, how did he get all those used needles?
You actually have to go to the pharmacy multiple times, and people think like, "What's wrong with this guy? What is it? What does he need 1,000 needles for?"
Oh
Yeah,
my god, you nerds.
yeah. So it's like,
It's suspension of disbelief. Don't be a nerd.
and that just ruined that scene for me. Also, like that person can't enjoy films. I mean, that person who does that.
Oh yeah, he has to look at such detail into the films, where it's just like, I mean, imagine just looking at a film and you're just looking for every little mistake possible.
Yeah,
No way you can enjoy it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
That'd be so lame.
Right.
Seriously, gosh.
Yeah, it's there's some smart concepts for films that I think are smart as well. Like there was one, The Purge. I'm a horror movie fan, just in case you haven't noticed. There's a film called The Purge, which is like the concept is everything is illegal for 24 hours. In order to reduce crime, the government has made everything illegal for 24 hours once a year, so everyone just does all the crime on that night. Which and then like the CinemaSins guy was like, why is it just like street crime, like robbery and murder? What about like insider trading and like and I was just like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know, we've thought this through. But yeah, so that's a top channel. Yeah, I really like that channel. Yeah, there's Watch Mojo's a good one.
I discovered a channel that's like MTV with Francesca Ramsey and all these like BuzzFeed
yeah.
with like all these ones that are about race. But there's one. Imagine that kind of channel, but good. I found one. It's called Flama, and it's kind of funded by Univision. So all the videos are kind of oriented towards Latino things. But they do these kind of race-oriented videos just like MTV does or BuzzFeed does, like about, hey, white people and this and that. But they're good. They're actually not bad.
Yeah.
You know, and especially there's one girl on there who's a comedian who she left. Now I think she just left last week, she said. But all the videos she has on there are hilarious. And her name is Joanna Hausman. And she's like a white Jew from Venezuela.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But the comedy is just excellent. And I'll tell you why it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this channel good making those same kind of videos and MTV or BuzzFeed is bad? This channel is good because they trash white people, but they also trash everyone else.
Right.
They trash black people, Latino people, white people. They have multiple videos where they just specifically talk shit about Chileans. And everything they say is right on point. And I die. It's hilarious because like I see that like they're trashing Chileans, and that doesn't bother me. It's hilarious when you do it right, when you point out real things. And I think, oh yeah, we're like that. Oh yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
It's like I want to see that. It's, you know, and these other channels are like BuzzFeed or MTV. They only go after one race of people, one group of people.
True.
That's the problem with them.
On the other hand, I think there are a lot of people who get very offended by jokes towards their race, like, and this is for all races, like there are people who are like, oh no, that white comedian can't make a joke about, you know, black community, that's really insensitive. And then there are people who are like, who, you know, if someone makes a joke about white people, they're like, no, that's just anti-white. They'll call anything anti-white. This is the thing with the Ghostbusters trailer, and things
Right.
like that. You know, I think people take these things too seriously.
Well, like look, like back in the day, Dave Chappelle, like early 2000, he was huge, right?
Mhm.
And he did a great show. I mean, you can binge watch his show, the few seasons he did any day of the week. And today, everybody would be pissed at this guy, right?
Right.
But that's the
He
beautiful
would,
thing.
yes.
Like he laughed at the KKK, but he also laughed at black. Like his jokes were constantly trashing black people and black culture and white people, you know, and Asian culture and everything.
Yeah.
But imagine like if he was doing a show today, every single one of his shows, like people would scream outrage.
Yeah.
Right. The alt-right would be outraged. You're being anti-white. He's a regressive. Black Lives Matter would be like, oh, you know, you're showing black people in a bad light. But that's why Dave Chappelle was good, because he trashed everybody to the extreme and did it well.
Yep. Same
right.
with,
And we don't have those people anymore.
Same goes for South Park. You know,
South Park, yeah.
Trey Park, Matt Stone. I mean,
nobody is safe from them.
Yeah,
nobody.
I mean, that's that. And what I really respect about them was when they did the Muhammad stuff, because you know that really just showed we don't care. We'll do it to anybody. You know, we don't care about the risks involved. The your political ramifications of what we're saying. You know, if we think it's funny, we're going to put it in. And I think comedy may lose that. Given the,
I mean, look, I'm very disappointed with somebody like Sarah Silverman going after Milo Yiannopoulos. Like, what the hell? I mean, I was a fan of this woman. I liked her show. Her show was so extreme. It was like South Park level extreme, right?
Yeah.
She would make every kind of homophobic, racist joke. She had like the dirtiest mouth of any comedian I'd ever seen, right? She was way you know, overboard on all her jokes, and it was good, a lot of it. But now she's saying that certain people can't say certain things. It's like, you made, like, now she can say that. Now she feels the right to censor other people because, hey, I'm famous enough. You know, if I start censoring myself and not saying certain things, hey, I'm still going to be famous. But these other people who also want to be extreme, that is what made you famous.
Right.
You want them to quiet down.
Yeah.
You know, it bugs me. It's like
the way
I feel
people
like
have handled Milo is all wrong. It's all wrong. I mean, you can tell, you know, when he gets censored from Twitter, when these people have a go at him, he likes it. You know, in a way, of course, it's not right that he gets taken off Twitter, for example, but you know, he knows.
Wait,
he knows in his head that it will help him.
Wait. I got to tell you, I have to interrupt because it's so important. Speaking of Milo, okay, I watched Ghostbusters, and Leslie Jones was like my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, but you get this, right? That's interesting you say that. You get people who, because of the political views like people like Leslie Jones have, and I've even seen it with Meryl Streep recently, you get people who are like, oh, well, they're a crap actor anyway. Yeah, they're crap. Yeah, she's not funny. She's rubbish. It's like, no, they're pretty. Look, you can acknowledge they've got talents in certain areas and disagree with them.
Well, like Sarah Silverman, like I'm disappointed in what she said, but I like her.
Yeah,
I think she's fun. I saw her stand-ups. I saw her shows. I was a fan of hers, but I'm still disappointed. I don't have to say now she's never been funny. Oh, she's terrible. No, she was very funny. I thought she did very good stand-up. I thought she was pushing the limits of comedy like very few people were doing for a while, and that's admirable. But I just disappointed that she's now pushing a double standard to her background, right? And even she tweeted about Milo, but what she did when she tweeted him is that she quoted Imran Siddiqui, who works for CARE, who's basically an Islamist, right? Who probably hates Jews. So you have a Jewish comedian retweeting an Islamist who works for CARE, who probably hates Jews, who's talking shit about another guy, right? Who's also a gay Jew. This guy also hates gay people. It's a circle, and she's tweeting him as a way of saying, hey, takes down Milo because he's intolerant, right?
Yeah. And not Imran Siddiqui.
Not Imran Siddiqui is fine. It's such a weird mix of identity politics there that is just insane to me.
Well, this is the thing. I had you get celebrities who come out, but look, here's the thing, right? This is the thing I have, where look, it's fine to disagree with people, but do we then demonize these people to the point? Because I see this with people, and I'm not saying you guys have done it, but I see people who they're like, oh, shut up, you're just a celebrity, right? I've seen that criticism. I'm sure you have as well. And, you know, on one hand, I don't like that personally, because I think that celebrities should be encouraged to give their political opinion. And I've noticed a lot of this kind of anti-celebrity.
I made one I did make an anti-celebrity comment talking about politics. However, it's because I have an aversion to celebrities talking about politics at movie ceremonies.
Right.
I don't like it. And it's not just actors in ceremonies. I also really don't like, for example, when I go to a concert, because I like that musician and their music, and they start bringing up politics, because I didn't go there and no one else went there to hear a political speech. And you could say, well, hey, they have a platform, shouldn't they say something? It's like, well, no, they actually shouldn't say something, because people are not going there to be divided and be lectured about politics. If I wanted to do that, I could go to a political lecture, and this same singer or actor can hold a conference. They can hold a lecture, and they say, hey, I'm an actor, I'm a singer, and I'm going to talk about politics at this event. You can come if you want. That's fine. But it's almost like you're tricking people into, like, people. If I'm watching the Golden Globes, I'm going there to watch, okay, who's winning the best TV show or movie or documentary or things like this, right? I'm not watching it to get politically lectured. And for example, Glenn Close, it's stupid to say she's not an incredible actress like Paul Joseph Watson was trying to say. That's just dumb. But there is kind of a good argument to not to whether she's wrong or right or what she says, but does she really at an awards ceremony have to trash half the country in their choice of liking Donald Trump? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't even like Donald Trump, but does she really have to create political division?
It's so divisive.
I don't know, an awards ceremony that is not about politics. I actually don't like that. I don't think it's right.
Yeah,
she can go on an interview. She can say that at any time she wants.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the time. I think there are times to talk about stuff.
I agree with that. Time and a place. One person who did it well, and look, a lot of people criticize. I've seen it with him, Russell Brand, for example. Now, Russell Brand did things completely differently. He shot to fame because he did an interview with Jeremy Paxman. He edited a political magazine temporarily, and then he set up his own YouTube channel. And I don't agree with Russell Brand on a lot of things, but I think it's fantastic that he's getting involved in the debate, because I'd rather celebrities get involved and actually talk about these real issues that affect people's lives than sit in their ivory tower and just, never say anything on these topics. They got a big reach. And if they can look, a lot of people, I think sometimes people project a lot of people are just not informed on issues.
Russell Brand is a perfect example of the separation I'm talking about. Like Russell Brand, I detest this guy. I can't stand anything he says. However, I have no problem at all that he gives his opinion, and the way he does it, he starts a YouTube channel. He's been on a lot of programs where he debates other people on politics. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But if he was doing this at almost exclusively at award ceremonies, I wouldn't be cool with it.
No, I completely respect that. I agree with that. I just think, with him, for example, one thing people overlook, what I was trying to say before, is that a lot of people, they just don't know about politics. They do. I mean, it's sometimes people forget in our circles, because we're always on Twitter and we're always engaging with people who do follow politics, that there are a lot of people who are just uninformed. Who don't pay much attention to politics, who go about their daily lives, who don't really listen to what politicians have to say. They may occasionally glance at the news, but they're not really engaged with it all. And someone like Russell Brand can really help engage people. So that person who then is engaged by Russell Brand, he then goes, oh, that was interesting. Maybe I'll look at this other video that's come up in my feed on this topic. Oh, and then they get into it, So I actually think it's really helpful that celebrities enter the public day. As you say, though, as long as they do it in the right way.
I have a different view on what celebrities, how they express their political views. If a celebrity came from a poor background, know a few, and they sort of tend to lean to the more conservative spectrum of politics. They have an experience of how it was to be poor and etc. But I'm not rich. I earn me and my wife earn 1,600 euros a month.
Well, to be
Right.
fair, plenty of poor people have really terrible and shitty opinions about politics.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes, I know that.
So-
But me and my wife together, we earn 1,600 euros a month, 1,500 euros a month average, and I'm still paying for my kids' tuition. My daughter, she works, but she's still sort of an intern, so she doesn't get full pay and etc. Now, when a millionaire, for example, like Lily Allen, tells me that I am the scum of the earth in all sorts of ways, I feel affected.
Right. Yeah.
Personally, I don't, because I can't be offended. Me, Carlos Rodriguez, can't be offended. But my status as a working class person, even though I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in archaeology, I only work in the museum because I can't get a job in archaeology in Portugal. So I took the best a paying job. It's not it's just a paying job for where I work. It's close to where I live, and etc. It has its perks. This is both anecdotal, but it's factual. So,
Question.
I work in a museum.
Why is
Sorry, Sam,
why is money a delineating factor between your opinion being valid or not?
But
I'm
this is
not
the thing.
saying it's valid or not. I'm just saying that someone who earns a million, who's a millionaire, saying that, oh, she's oppressed and all that shit.
This is an interesting debate, right?
It's
And
totally
I've been
surreal.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about this myself. Is that so? If you get certain people who say you can't punch down, I've noticed this. There are people who say don't punch down. Oh, sorry, who say punching down is fine. Punching down is fine. But then there comes a point where a lot of these same people then say, "Oh, you're talking down to working class people." So what is the difference between talking down and not talking down?
Well,
I think you should be able to make kind of jokes at people, even if you're punching down, ridicule people, whoever it is. But at the same time, you know, a lot of people are expressing concern about talking down, being moralizing, patronizing. So where is the line?
Well, I think it depends on what you're talking about and how you talk about it. For example, if a famous actress who's a multimillionaire, if she wants to talk about, you know, she can talk about oppression. That's fine. She can talk about, you know, the working class and poverty, or, you know, the foreigners, or the plight of women or minorities. You can talk about all that, but you have to put it into the context of who you are. You have to preface it by saying, hey, look, I'm very lucky to live in a free country. I've been very lucky in my work. I'm very rich. I'm very privileged, you know, as far as like, you know, socioeconomics. They might have been poor before, maybe not. They'll say that on case-to-case basis. And then from that, they say, okay, you know, but some people, you know, face this discrimination or have these problems and things like that. But some of these actresses and some of these actors even sell themselves as oppressed. They're like, I'm a woman, therefore I'm oppressed. And you see even articles about this, like, hey, Scarlett Johansson made a few $1 million less than this other male actor. Well, that depends on a lot of things, whether they're making a few million less or not. But who gives a fuck? You know, it's like, this is not the metric of oppression, right?
I couldn't have put it, Arlo. I'll give you just put on an example. What's her name that appeared in Jesus. The movie is called Passengers. Passengers.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. She earned twice as much as Chris, the one that's
Chris Pratt.
Yes, yeah, him.
That's
She's
that's
still
sexism.
No, exactly. She still claims she was being oppressed and gender gap, wage gap, and all that shit. That to me is offensive.
Well, they're
I,
just
I, I,
egotistical. Just
Yeah.
yeah,
ugh.
my experience, which is as well as being anecdotal, it is factual. I said I can prove that I only earn, me and my wife, €1,600 about a month. I have a better quality of life than Jennifer Lawrence in many ways.
Oh, probably.
I can afford, apart from all the expenses which they're driving me mad sometimes. I go to the cafe every day. I have my cafe, my coffee, a real coffee, not espresso, real good espresso. For example, I can afford that. So, but when
Wait,
they
wait,
say,
wait, 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 whoa. Okay, this drives me crazy. Okay, just as a thought, what about celebrities that, okay, they may film movies all over the world. They have experience in international travel. They've met people from all, you know, they're very well read. Some of them are complete idiots. But having money and does not mean that you have an easy life.
no,
I don't understand why that's the, well, they make millions in a movie, so they can't have an opinion about this because they're out of touch. But they also are in touch with bulimia, anorexia, alcoholism. You know, they have siblings and parents that are normal people. So I'm just curious as to why the money and how successful they are. Yes, some of them are up there on their asses, but why that's the difference for
Well, we're
just
talking,
for people.
but Jen, at least I was talking about that. If they're making that much money, only in reference to money, why are they complaining, right? Not in other aspects of their life. I'm saying, like, sometimes, like, I saw this video recently comparing, for example, they said the actors of Game of Thrones make twice as much as the actors of Empire, right? And they said, oh, but Empire is the most popular TV show on television. I have my serious doubts as to how, like, because Empire is not internationally popular. It doesn't, like, it's not an international phenomenon like Game of Thrones is. So I have my serious doubts as to the ratings they're claiming for Empire. But even then, it's just like, well, it depends on tons of things. It's different networks, different brands that sponsor it. It's a multitude of things as far as how much actors are making. But this video was trying to claim that only in the sense, like, they're not talking about their whether they're suffering from bulimia or you know, disease or anything like that. They're just saying no, how much they're making, right? And claiming one is oppressed over the other.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Right?
I got you.
Right, and I'm watching.
It takes me a while. I'm slow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's my point as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were claiming some kind of discrimination based on, like, the actors of Empire being black over the actors of Game of Thrones mostly being white, right?
They're completely different parts of television. Like, what?
Yeah, no, and it's not like look, in Chile, for example, nobody watches Empire. It's not something that's culturally.
I don't know Empire. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't even know Empire. I don't know it that well either. It's not. I've never seen it, but Game of Thrones. Everybody in Chile watches Game of Thrones. Everyone, and everyone in the world is a huge phenomenon. So it's not a. If you see the international ratings versus just the national ratings, I'm sure it blows Empire out of the water. But they're looking for examples, claiming just the national ratings that the actors of Empire are oppressed. And it's a race issue.
Well, they want an equality of outcome instead of
right. But I understand your point. Just because they are actors and they make a lot of money doesn't mean that they're not allowed to give their opinion on, for example, Saudi Arabia or politics or something like that. Of course they can.
Right. But I just meant in general, because people tell them to shut up because they're rich.
Well, some of them actually talk about, like, them being oppressed because they make less. Right. What was the actress? Patricia Arquette. Remember Patricia Arquette at one of the award ceremonies? She got up and she talked about the wage gap. Now, if you talk about the wage gap, I mean, come on, you're a famous actress making a lot of money. You gotta do that with a lot more humility when you talk about how much women make.
Yeah, they're so pretentious, God.
Right? Like, that's a different story. You're talking about wages, and you're a millionaire. It's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah. I get that. Well, I tell you,
Lala,
I
you come
I
from a
don't-
country. You come from a country that has had a dictatorship not long ago. I come from a country that in 1974 we got rid of our dictatorship.
Chile
The
was
Western-
89, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, 89. Yeah, Pinochet. Yeah. The Western Anglo-Saxon countries. England had Cromwells in the 14th century, if I'm not mistaken, 13th, 14th century. The father and son, Oliver and he's one of them. I can't remember it now.
Thomas, I think.
Thomas, thank you. Yes. Since then, no Anglo-Saxon country has ever had a dictatorship or a authoritarian rule over them. The phenomenon of
I feel like this is getting racist. I'm kidding. Go ahead. I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. The phenomenon of having, because they claim everyone that disagrees with you, you're literally Hitler, literally fascist, etc. If they had lived for a generation under what your parents and my parents lived, they would be fucking screaming against those sort of claims.
It's as I say, you haven't seen shit, you're gonna scream the loudest.
Exactly. It's oh god. Portugal at the moment admit any extremes, our most extreme parties, from the conservatives to the communist Marxists, are more center than in, for example, in the UK.
Sorry, go ahead.
They're center. They are bloody center.
Sam Shelley, have you ever lived in abroad before?
lived abroad? No. Well,
No?
in Wales temporarily.
That's not abroad. Jeez. They do kind of speak
God, that
different.
is a
That was
but
quite-
so
quite
so
exhausting.
Sam might be an exception to this rule, but I was thinking about this a lot about a lot of the people I've met online who have a very good sense of equality and humanism, that they don't buy into the whole social justice warrior, hardcore feminist ideology, and at the same time don't fall into the right wing or the alt-right, just falling into bigotry. A lot of the people I know who are very balanced at the same level as me, most of them are not even white, but I think as a difference to a lot of the social justice warriors you'll see, they in a large part have lived abroad. So for example, Fred Martin, who I would say has a very good sense of this, he grew up first in Haiti, right, and escaped there during the war and then moved to France. Isabelle Beaumec has a very good sense of this as well. She's originally from Brazil and now lives in the United States. Melissa Chen, she used to live in Singapore and then immigrated to the United States. Faisal Muhtard, originally from Iraq. Jen, who's white, but she also has a good sense of this because she has the experience of also living under Islam and, with a Muslim husband, and has lived in some Muslim countries. And me as well. I have lived, about half my life in the United States, but also outside. And I think this is it's not always like the element, because, like, for example, Sam has a very good sense of this, even though he doesn't have that experience. So I think it's just, from empathizing and having a background from the outside.
The thing with me is, like, I've been to many different countries already, and like in my life, and also because my parents weren't born here in the UK, I have a good sense of other parts of the world, and also my job. I'm constantly talking to people and having to go out and meet people and do stuff. So
well, you balance it out by at least trying to get people's experience through conversation or reading or things like that.
Right.
But I think the social justice warriors and a lot of these minority groups in the West, whether it be the United States or Canada or England, I think their problem is that they only know the problems of their own country, and they kind of idealize and see almost as a utopia abroad, right? They have no concept of what's the problems that are going on in another country, that the extreme racism or discrimination or social pressures or political issues, class issues that go on abroad. So it's just not in their worldview. They don't balance anything. They don't see the discrimination that goes on between races in Latin America, for example. Latinos in the United States will go on and on about how they're discriminated, but then they can't really tell you how discrimination works in Latin America. Right. They have no real deep concept of it. And the same thing you'll find with like the Islam apologists, right, who talk about discrimination against Muslims. They don't ever talk about the discrimination that goes on between, for example, Arabs and black Muslims, or with Jews or anything like that. Yeah, Pakistanis. There's a whole there's a whole stratification of like, that. For example, Sunni Arabs are at the top of the list, right? And they look down on all other groups. And then you go from like there's like the Sunni Pakistanis who are a little bit above that. And then there's if you're a Shia, and you're black,
they all hate
then
Shias.
you're like at the bottom of the
on
list, right? Right. So, and they never talk about that, right? Like the feminist Muslims, or the, we're, the cool, and, Muslims are all liberal and kind of thing. They never will talk about the discrimination in their own community. Right. Exactly. Just like, and I see with the Latinos as well. Latinos in the United States, when I was there, they don't know anything, and they could give less a shit about the discrimination that actually happens in Latin America, a part of the world that they, talk about and idealize on that. They don't know about it. They couldn't give a shit about it. So, but I think when you're from that country, right, when you've lived abroad, or at least you get a sense of it, then you feel some balance. Then you're like, maybe my life isn't that bad. Maybe, maybe I do have it pretty good. Maybe a few dirty looks that I've gotten over like the span of 10 years is not the worst thing that can fucking happen to me. Right. And you can tell that with like the stories I hear from Melissa. Right, Melissa Chen from Singapore. She knows the all the freedoms that she's not offered in Singapore. Or Isabel Bomek, me and Jen spoke with her, right, Jen, and she grew up very poor. She's told me a lot of hard stories of when she was little, and she understands, like, okay, yeah, the United States has their problems, but she lives so much better now, right?
You're so grateful for what you have. And you don't have time to look for microaggressions and stupid shit.
Manspreading and white-splaining. Like, this just seemed like insane to you when you consider like where you could be living right now, right? And just a very troubled and almost uncivilized part of the world, versus the privilege you have in a first world Western country, right, with a democracy, and there is pretty much equality of genders, right, and pretty much equality of races, with all its troubles. It's it's better than most places are today. So I think that's one of the phenomenons why you get social justice warriors, is that it's too many generations of people. Like they constantly will bring up privilege. That's their main thing. But their problem is that they are too privileged. That is literally the problem of minorities in Western first world countries, is their privilege. They have no idea how good they have it. None at all.
One more minute, guys. I have to go to work tomorrow.
Well, thank you for having us on, Carlos.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, we'll use this one more last minute to you guys shield your stuff.
Nah, it's cool.
Come on, advertise.
It's all good.
Donate to me on Patreon.
I
never say that.
None of us.
This is why I make. You know what? I make $6 on Patreon a month. Literally, I make like 6 or maybe 7. I never push it. I always forget to.
Yeah.
I always forget.
I think Sam should show his stuff. He's the one that's like,
Yeah.
Donate to Sam, Shelley, and Noda. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They are, absolutely.
Like, don't pay your rent. Donate to them instead.
Well, no, pay your rent. I mean,
don't
want to be responsible for any homelessness.
People in the chat.
Sam is such a nice guy.
I hope you enjoyed this 3 people. I love them. I really do.
It's kind of, I like the way we talk when we get talking. It's kind of like I don't know, we just talk about stuff, and then it's kind of like, what do you think about that? What about this? And it's nice because nobody, I don't. It's just it's really really fun for us. Like Lalo and Sam and I start talking. We need to go do this on somebody's channel at another time, but soon, because it is. It's just that we
Well,
just click.
I hope I sort of inspired you, and you guys are always welcome on my channel. You guys have an open invitation always. I know your time restraints and all. I know all the attenuating circumstances, but I always send invites to everyone which I've had on my channel. Those that come on, no worries. This is an informal chat. There's no rules and shit. And I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Well,
and I hope everyone in the chat enjoyed it. I'm going to stop
you.
the broadcast right now.